Chapter 354. Bang, bang, bang. The falling bricks smashed into the ground, stirring up more smoke. All of this was like a scene from a movie, playing in front of Lu Cheng in a surreal state. He smelled danger that could disappear at any time in the future. The figure with the murderous intent was definitely a very powerful enemy. If he was alone, he would die on the spot if he made a slight mistake, not to mention that he might have other helpers. He was really surrounded by enemies, swaying in the wind and rain. Lu Cheng's pores were tightly closed and his goosebumps were still visible. He was indescribably scared and nervous, but these were combined into a strong desire to survive. No, I don't want to die here. The sad tears of his parents, the love hidden in their nagging and silence, the life that finally saw the light after the hardships, Yenjika's heartbroken expression, the ecstasy and excitement when he confessed his love, and the sweet and beautiful daily life that was not full of ups and downs flashed in his mind. No, I don't want to let the pain come true, and I don't want to let the happiness come true. Lu Cheng shouted in his heart. His willpower was strong and his eyes were shining. All his emotions were burning fiercely, supporting his body. Bang! The lunchbox with the roasted eggplant flew out of the glassless window in an arc boom. The ceiling was broken again and the stones and bricks fell down. Lu Cheng landed on the ground and made a gesture with his hands. He visualized the sharp ancient characters in his mind. Facing the figure in the air, he shouted with a strong fighting spirit, "Army!" The atmosphere in the surroundings immediately became desperate. It was as if there was smoke everywhere, and thousands of soldiers and horses were surrounding them from all directions. Lu Cheng felt that this was the most powerful he had ever used the army formula since he mastered it. His state of mind and emotions were very compatible with the secret method, so he broke through the past. "Army!" Dong Xiaoyang heard the murderous voice. He felt like a gun was pointed at his head and the trigger was pulled. He shuddered violently and his body was obviously shaking. Lu Cheng took 2 steps forward and gathered his qi and blood. Before Dong Xiaoyang fell to the ground, he fiercely hit him with the Thunder Roar Zen. There was no hesitation, no mercy, no determination, no hesitation, no mercy, firm, decisive, and cold-blooded. If I sympathize with him, who will sympathize with me? There was no mercy between life and death. At this moment, Dong Xiaoyang's eyes suddenly became clear and cold. This was the rock heart that had been through many battles and dangers. It had a strong resistance to the army formula. What a joke. Where were you when I led my team into the enemy's territory, into the dragon's pool, and beheaded the enemy's general at the brink of death? What a joke. Where were you when I met the fierce killer on a narrow path and killed him by a hair's breadth? How could a martial artist who had only seen blood once display the true essence of that secret technique? What I've experienced is something you can't even imagine. Using such a secret technique on me is like showing off your slight skill in front of an expert. Dong Xiaoyang suddenly curled up his body in midair, condensing his qi, blood, spirit, and strength into a single point. He turned his body halfway and swung his swollen right arm at Lu Cheng, using the momentum of his fall and the power of the dance stage to punch his greenish-black fist with bulging veins. Just as the 2 fists were about to collide, Dong Xiaoyang completed a strange visualization, causing the surging force to strangely shrink at the fist area. The contraction followed by the explosion surged out like crazy waves. Bam! A muffled sound echoed in the room of dozens of square meters. Lu Cheng's fist was slightly painful and his arm was trembling. He was forced to step back by the strange double explosion. 1 step, 2 steps, he couldn't control himself and hit the wall with a bang. This was a 6-story residential building that was to be demolished. It was made up of many apartments and the layout was not spacious enough. There were walls everywhere. Fighting here was like fighting in someone else's living room or bedroom. Even the slightest stretch would lead to obstacles. Boom! Lu Cheng's back tightened and broke through the load-bearing wall, falling into another room. He knew he was at a disadvantage and the situation was extremely critical. However, the ice mirror had been formed. He controlled his center of gravity calmly and waved his right hand quickly, shooting out a violent red fireball in an attempt to stop Dong Xiaoyang's approach. Following that, he hooked his left hand and the glittering white cold light moved close to the ground, leaping toward the enemy. The top, middle, and bottom paths were all sealed off. Bam! The lunchbox with the roasted eggplant outside the window had just fallen to the ground. Dong Xiaoyang was slightly affected by the Thunder Roar Zen and slightly swayed in the air. However, as soon as his feet touched the ground, he strode forward to catch up with Lu Cheng, not giving him a chance to stabilize the situation. After 1 step, he saw the red light reflected in his eyes and saw the fireball flying toward him. Dong Xiaoyang bounced his back and swayed his center of gravity. His footwork was disorderly and smoothly turned into an arc, bypassing the attack of ice and fire from the side. Boom. The flame exploded and the cold light leaped. He broke through the wall and broke into the room that Lu Qing fell into. He was really imposing. Bam. 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 The load-bearing wall behind him collapsed completely, turning into a pile of messy stones. At this time, Lu Qing had already stabilized his stance. Instead of retreating, he took a step forward and rushed to the enemy's side. Between life and death, the brave one wins. His eyes flashed and his mind was filled with white snow. He flicked his wrists and elbows, aiming at 7 places on Dong Xiaoyang's body. At the same time, the cold light spread out from his shaking fists, creating a fog of ice crystals that blocked Dong Xiaoyang's vision. The ice crystals kept vibrating, converging into a buzzing sound that interfered with the enemy's hearing. The 13th move of the ice sect, Snow Cover. In such an environment, Lu Qing, who had not yet released the strength in his hands, suddenly clamped his tailbone, straightened his legs, and silently kicked out with his right foot towards the enemy's ankle joint. Dong Xiaoyang seemed to have anticipated this. He put his arms in front of him, bulged his thighs and kicked back fiercely with his left foot. In a split second, Lu Qing suddenly bent his spine forward, lowered his center of gravity, and let his right foot touch the ground in advance. After touching the ground, he forcibly dragged his body to the side of the enemy, creating a perfect opportunity the moment Dong Xiaoyang kicked out his left foot. This was the application of the 19th move of the ice sect, Cold Swallow. Lu Qing incorporated the technique of this move into Snow Cover to form a combo attack, which was equivalent to a combination of the 2 moves. After losing to Peng Liyun, his hard work and attempts were not in vain. This was the result of his hard work. He had reached a higher level and followed his heart without breaking the rules. In his mind, he visualized a frozen river and shaking thunderclouds. Lu Qing was neither happy nor anxious. He raised his right arm high, clenched his fist and punched down. Simplified physical invulnerability move, severe warning. The distance was too close. Dong Xiaoyang's left foot missed, and he was suddenly in a precarious situation. He had lost his previous advantage and was in an extremely dangerous situation. Facing this situation, he did not despair nor panic. He immediately gathered all his strength and let the danqi erupt above his spine. Bam! His spine bent like a hard bow, dragging his body to the back. With a bang, he knocked down another load-bearing wall. Lu Qing did not feel depressed when he missed the severe warning. Full of fighting spirit and unusual calmness, he swayed his center of gravity and pounced on the enemy who had not yet fallen to the ground. He spurted out his danqi and shortened most of the distance between them. He was about to catch up. Monk Wenguang carried the sleeping girl and moved to another position with the divine enchanter of Sin Flame. He sighed in a low voice. He really has a talent for fighting. Senior, please cover your voice. Don't attract the attention of others. Okay. The divine enchanter of Sin Flame nodded slightly. After knocking down the wall, Dong Xiaoyang regained his balance in midair with the help of the force. Looking at Lu Qing, who was closing in on him in a flash, he suddenly hid his eyes and let his eyes be filled with a terrifying white. He visualized the corresponding picture, shook his chest and abdomen, opened his throat and exhaled loudly, bam. The surroundings suddenly became quiet. Lu Qing felt like he was in an empty room in the middle of the night. He heard a knock at the door, and outside the window, there were graves and the cold wind whistling. In an instant he was frightened and nervous. His body could not help but tremble. But his willpower was at its strongest. He quickly calmed down and made a gesture to use the 9 words formula. Forward. His voice turned into a sharp arrow, exploding in front of the enemy with his negative feelings. Dong Xiaoyang's eyes were cold. He did not waver and seized the opportunity to close in on Lu Qing. He used force concentration to expand his body and hit the same move as before. Bam, 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 bam. Lu Qing responded with consecutive dance stage outbursts, but he was beaten back by the duet, again and again. He broke through one wall after another, shaking the entire 6-story building. Clang, clang. Dong Xiaoyang did not recklessly attack head-on. He changed his rhythm and direction from time to time. He did not give Lu Qing a chance to use simplified physical invulnerability moves or dodge his attacks. Quintuple explosion, sextuple explosion, and septuple explosion. Lu Qing seemed to be at an absolute disadvantage. He kept retreating and knocking down walls. His back hurt, but his footwork and posture were not disordered. Relying on the sensing ability of the ice mirror, he always detected the enemy's attack in advance and blocked the enemy's attack. Without this kung fu, he felt that he would not be able to withstand more than a few moves from the duet. Bam! Another load-bearing wall collapsed and the building shook again. Dong Xiaoyang flashed to Lu Cheng's left side, pulled back his arm and punched again, repeating the previous moves. But this time he did not use force concentration. Instead, he visualized two pictures: flame condensation and infusion explosion. Simplified physical invulnerability move, internal explosion. When the punch hit, the force would explode in the enemy's body. His previous duet attack was not a fake move. It was not an attack to paralyze Lu Cheng or to cover up the use of this move. In a life-and-death situation, there was no such thing as a complicated and long-term plan. There was only a flash of inspiration and the right time because there were too many variables. Dong Xiaoyang's arm muscles undulated as he threw out a punch. He was expecting Lu Cheng to subconsciously parry his attack like he had done so many times before. If Lu Cheng was aware of it, he could force Lu Cheng to dodge and create an opportunity for him to follow up with a series of attacks. Lu Cheng's heart was like an ice mirror, reflecting the surroundings. He sensed that Dong Xiaoyang did not withdraw his qi, blood, and force at close range. No. Lu Cheng tensed up and his hair stood on end. He grasped a few thoughts that flashed through his mind. Without hesitation, he exerted force on his feet and leaped into the air. This move was the standard way to die in the challenge tournament, unless one had the supernatural ability to fly or was close to the physical invulnerability state. But in today's environment, Lu Cheng was not in a hurry to fall and could not change his direction. Crack. He jumped close to the ceiling and stretched out his hands. His 10 fingers clenched into the stone and hung in the air. Then he used force concentration. With his fingers as a fulcrum, he bounced back and leaped backward like a gymnast. His feet kicked the ceiling as if he was going to use the rebound force to attack. Below, Dong Xiaoyang could almost foresee what would happen if he changed direction forcibly and jumped up to give Lu Cheng an internal explosion punch in the air. In that case, Lu Cheng would change direction and land on the ground from another position. Then Lu Cheng would give him a fatal blow in the air. The difference between the target is the ceiling and the target is Lu Cheng meant that he could not touch the ceiling, so there was nothing he could rely on. Thinking of this, Dong Xiaoyang lowered his waist and abdomen and made a prelude to change direction forcibly. He wanted to trick Lu Cheng into pouncing on him while he dodged the position and attacked from behind with his elbow. This was not a fake move. It was just that his movement was slow, and he left some leeway. He could still make Lu Cheng's absolute reaction and misjudge in a split second. Bam! Lu Cheng stomped on the ground and exerted a tremendous amount of strength. The ceiling cracked open and the rocks fell down. He used the momentum to bounce back, but instead of pouncing on Dong Xiaoyang, he jumped to the window like a fish, as if he wanted to escape from the battlefield. You want to escape? Dong Xiaoyang smiled. His waist and abdomen bounced back, he straightened his knees and changed direction forcibly to pounce on Lu Cheng's back. This is the flaw you exposed yourself. Lu Cheng had just jumped to the window when he felt the pain in his back and the strong wind behind him. However, he did not panic. Instead, he seemed to be expecting something. He put his hands on the window, leaned his body forward, and did a twisting kick behind him. Bam! His tattered shoes flew out, along with the red flame and crystal cold light under his feet. They were shot at Dong Xiaoyang, who was pouncing on him. Dong Xiaoyang snorted. He exerted strength under his feet and bulged his muscles. He was about to make an explosion in the air and set off the strong wind to trigger the attack of ice and fire in advance. Then he would break through with his body. Boom! Just as he was about to move, the fireball exploded first. The heat spread out and turned the cold light into a mist. It blocked his vision and made him feel that his surroundings were blurred. Bam! The mist split open. A fist with bulging veins was like a weapon that could split the chaos. It was punching at Dong Xiaoyang's head from above. Escaping was for a better attack. Lu Cheng's eyes were sharp and his fist was firm. Most of his muscles bulged and became taller, as if he was going to sweep away all obstacles in front of him that would destroy his beautiful life. Dong Xiaoyang, who did not have time to make a duet, could only use force concentration to defend himself. He shook his right arm and moved upward. Bam! This was the first time Dong Xiaoyang was forced to retreat in a fight of life and death. Lu Cheng was not going to let him go. He quickly closed the distance and made consecutive explosions, not giving his opponent a chance to make a duet. Triple explosion, quadruple explosion, quintuple explosion. He integrated the skills of 24 blizzard strikes into it and fought with Dong Xiaoyang at close range. He punched hard to prevent Dong Xiaoyang from making a weird duet and using unknown secret skills. Sextuple explosion, septuple explosion, octuple explosion. Lu Qing became fiercer and fiercer. He used dance stage explosions as if they were free. At this point he also realized that the killer was weaker than Peng Liyun. He was not close to the inhuman level. In other words, although his opponent was strong, he was not a monster. Bam, bam, bam. Lu Qing was full of fighting spirit. Sweat steamed from his head and condensed into a cloud of white mist. Bam. Dong Xiaoyang was finally crushed by the ferocious, brutal blizzard. He broke through the bearing wall and fell down. The six-story building shook more and more violently. In the sound of falling stones, Lu Qing stepped on the ground and followed closely to his opponent who had just stabilized his center of gravity. He visualized the red sun and the frozen river in his mind. Boom. The red sun hit the ice river and both disappeared. Lu Qing pulled back his arm and threw out a punch. The mutated version of severe warning. Dong Xiaoyang did not panic in such a situation. It was as if he had experienced this countless times. He did not have time to jump up and he knew he could not take it head-on. He simply fell down and rolled on the ground. Army. At this moment, Lu Qing dispersed his force and made a hand gesture. He shouted in an ancient voice. Dong Xiaoyang, who was rolling on the ground, was shocked. He felt that he was surrounded by enemies because of his situation. After a short tremble, his strong willpower dispersed the influence. But Lu Qing took the opportunity to slide closer and kick out his right leg. Bam, 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 bam. Dong Xiaoyang tried his best to block a few moves, but he was kicked out of his stance and flew into the air, crashing into the wall. Bam. The impact caused the building to sway. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Lu Qing looked calm. He slid forward and was about to break Dong Xiaoyang's neck. At this moment, the shaking building finally reached its limit. Countless stones fell from above, making a dull and terrifying sound. Lu Qing paused for a moment. In order to protect himself, he used force concentration to break through the side wall and jump to the open space outside. Dong Xiaoyang smiled bitterly, his eyes full of disappointment. Boom. Lu Qing heard a deafening sound as soon as he steadied himself. He saw half of the six-story building collapse and then the whole building, burying the terrifying killer inside. He should be dead, right? Lu Qing did not dare to stay in the thick smoke. He was afraid that there would be other enemies. Taking advantage of the cover, he climbed over the wall into a nearby neighborhood. He found a secret place to hide and then took out his phone to call Geezer. This was the first time he encountered such a situation. He subconsciously asked for help from his master. "Hello, master. Someone just tried to kill me," Lu Qing said as soon as the call went through. "Oh, cough, who dares?" Geezer was stunned at first, then became furious. "I don't know either." Lu Qing was still a little confused. It happened so suddenly that he did not understand what was going on. Who did I offend? He thought, feeling wronged and angry. "Are you safe now? Go find Xing if you are not. Now that you are safe, tell me the key points." Geezer calmed down and asked in confusion. Lu Qing told him what had happened, focusing on the opponent's moves and his own condition. In the end he asked, "Master, do you have any clues?" Geezer was silent for a moment. Then he clenched his teeth and said, "I know what happened. It's okay now. You can go back to sleep. There won't be a next time. Damn it, I'll tear down the base and apologize to the simplified physical invulnerability of the fire sect. Anyway, there won't be a next time. Don't ask for now. It won't do you any good if you know." Okay. Lu Qing was confused and chose to believe his master. It seemed that there was an inside story behind the attack. He walked out of the secluded place and looked at the place where the fight had just happened. The building had collapsed and smoke was everywhere. What was strange about this was that such a big commotion did not wake up the nearby residents. "Where?" Lu Qing frowned. He thought for a while and called Yanjika. "Qing, you're here?" the girl asked happily. "No, I ran into a situation. Can you bring me a pair of pants?" Lu Qing looked down at his torn jeans and did not know whether to laugh or cry. It was not a competition, so he did not wear a martial arts suit. The tight pants were destroyed by the force of the dance stage and soon became unshaped. Ah. Yanjika was confused. After the barbecue, Jiang Fei led the 4 students to the entrance of the alley and planned to drive around. As they walked, the girl in the Korean coat suddenly exclaimed and pointed to the side. "Isn't there a building there?" The plump girl with a round face looked over and saw the ruins inside the wall. She was also confused. "Yeah, I saw it too. It was there before the barbecue. Why did it collapse? Why did it collapse?" Chapter 355. Bang, bang, bang. The falling bricks smashed into the ground, stirring up more smoke. All of this was like a scene from a movie, playing in front of Lu Cheng in an unreal state. He smelled danger that could disappear at any time in the future. The figure with the murderous intent was definitely a very powerful enemy. If he was alone, he would die on the spot if he made a slight mistake, not to mention that he might have other helpers. He was really surrounded by enemies, swaying in the wind and rain. Lu Cheng's pores were tightly closed and his goosebumps were still visible. He was indescribably scared and nervous, but these were combined into a strong desire to survive. No, I don't want to die here. The sad tears of his parents, the love hidden in their nagging and silence, the life that finally saw the light after the hardships, Yenjika's heartbroken expression, the ecstasy and excitement when he confessed his love, and the sweet and beautiful daily life that was not full of ups and downs flashed in his mind. No, I don't want to let the pain come true, and I don't want to let the happiness come true. Lu Cheng shouted in his heart. His willpower was strong and his eyes were shining. All his emotions were burning fiercely, supporting his body. Bang. The lunchbox with the roasted eggplant flew out of the glassless window in an arc boom. The ceiling was broken again and the stones and bricks fell down. Lu Cheng landed on the ground and made a gesture with his hands. He visualized the sharp ancient characters in his mind. Facing the figure in the air, he shouted with a strong fighting spirit, "Army!" The atmosphere in the surroundings immediately became desperate. It was as if there was smoke everywhere, and thousands of soldiers and horses were surrounding them from all directions. Lu Cheng felt that this was the most powerful he had ever used the army formula since he mastered it. His state of mind and emotions were very compatible with the secret method, so he broke through the past. "Army." Dong Xiaoyang heard the murderous voice. He felt like a gun was pointed at his head and the trigger was pulled. He shuddered violently and his body was obviously shaking. Lu Cheng took 2 steps forward and gathered his qi and blood. Before Dong Xiaoyang fell to the ground, he fiercely hit him with the Thunder Roar Zen. There was no hesitation, no mercy, no determination, no hesitation, no mercy, firm, decisive, and cold-blooded. If I sympathize with him, who will sympathize with me? There was no mercy between life and death. At this moment, Dong Xiaoyang's eyes suddenly became clear and cold. This was the rock heart that had been through many battles and dangers. It had a strong resistance to the army formula. What a joke. Where were you when I led my team into the enemy's territory, into the dragon's pool, and beheaded the enemy's general at the brink of death? What a joke. Where were you when I met the fierce killer on a narrow path and killed him by a hair's breadth? How could a martial artist who had only seen blood once display the true essence of that secret technique? What I've experienced is something you can't even imagine. Using such a secret technique on me is like showing off your slight skill in front of an expert. Dong Xiaoyang suddenly curled up his body in midair, condensing his qi, blood, spirit, and strength into a single point. He turned his body halfway and swung his swollen right arm at Lu Cheng, using the momentum of his fall and the power of the dance stage to punch his greenish-black fist with bulging veins. Just as the 2 fists were about to collide, Dong Xiaoyang completed a strange visualization, causing the surging force to strangely shrink at the fist again. The contraction followed by the explosion surged out like crazy waves. Bam! A muffled sound echoed in the room of dozens of square meters. Lu Cheng's fist was slightly painful and his arm was trembling. He was forced to take a few steps back by the strange double explosion. 1 step, 2 steps, he couldn't control himself and hit the wall with a bang. This was a 6-story residential building that was to be demolished. It was made up of many apartments. The layout was not spacious enough and there were walls everywhere. Fighting here was like fighting in someone else's living room or bedroom. Even the slightest stretch would lead to obstacles. Boom. Lu Cheng's back tightened and broke through the load-bearing wall, falling into another room. He knew he was at a disadvantage and the situation was extremely critical. However, the ice mirror had been formed. He controlled his center of gravity calmly and waved his right hand quickly, shooting out a violent red fireball in an attempt to stop Dong Xiaoyang's approach. Following that, he hooked his left hand and the glittering white cold light moved close to the ground, leaping toward the enemy. The top, middle, and bottom paths were all sealed off. Bam! The lunchbox with the roasted eggplant outside the window had just fallen to the ground. Dong Xiaoyang was slightly affected by the Thunder Roar Zen and slightly swayed in the air. However, as soon as his feet touched the ground, he strode forward to catch up with Lu Cheng, not giving him a chance to stabilize the situation. After 1 step, he saw the red light reflected in his eyes and saw the fireball flying toward him. Dong Xiaoyang bounced his back and swayed his center of gravity. His footwork was disorderly and smoothly turned into an arc, bypassing the attack of ice and fire from the side. Boom! The flame exploded and the cold light leaped. He broke through the wall and broke into the room that Lu Qing fell into. He was really imposing. Bam! 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 The load-bearing wall behind him collapsed completely and turned into a pile of messy stones. At this time, Lu Qing had stabilized his stance. Instead of retreating, he took a step forward and rushed to the enemy's side. Between life and death, the brave one wins. His eyes flashed and his mind was filled with white snow. He flicked his wrists and elbows, aiming at 7 places on Dong Xiaoyang's body. At the same time, the cold light spread out from his shaking fists, creating a fog made of ice crystals that blocked Dong Xiaoyang's vision. The ice crystals kept vibrating, converging into a buzzing sound that interfered with the enemy's hearing. The 13th move of the ice sect, Snow Cover. In such an environment, Lu Qing, who had not yet released the strength in his hands, suddenly clamped his tailbone, straightened his legs, and silently kicked out with his right foot towards the enemy's ankle joint. Dong Xiaoyang seemed to have anticipated this. He put his arms in front of him, bulged his thighs and kicked back fiercely with his left foot. In a flash, Lu Qing suddenly bent his spine forward, lowered his center of gravity, and let his right foot touch the ground in advance. After touching the ground, he forcibly dragged his body to the side of the enemy, creating a perfect opportunity when Dong Xiaoyang kicked out his left foot. This was the application of the 19th move of the ice sect, Cold Swallow. Lu Qing incorporated the technique of this move into Snow Cover to form a combo attack, which was equivalent to a combination of the 2 moves. After losing to Peng Liyun, his hard work and attempts were not in vain. This was the result of his hard work. He had reached a higher level and followed his heart without breaking the rules. In his mind, he visualized a frozen river and shaking thunderclouds. Lu Qing was neither happy nor anxious. He raised his right arm high, clenched his fist and punched down. Simplified physical invulnerability move, severe warning. The distance was too close. Dong Xiaoyang's left foot missed. He was suddenly in a precarious situation, losing his previous advantage and falling into an extremely dangerous situation. Facing this, he did not despair or panic. Instead, he gathered all the strength in his body and let the danqi erupt above his spine. Bam! His spine bent like a hard bow, dragging his body to the back. With a bang, he knocked down another load-bearing wall. Lu Qing did not feel depressed when he missed the severe warning. Full of fighting spirit and unusual calmness, he swayed his center of gravity and pounced on the enemy who had not yet fallen to the ground. He spurted out the danqi and shortened most of the distance between them. He was about to catch up. Monk Wenguang carried the sleeping girl and moved to another position with the divine enchanter of Sin Flame. He sighed in a low voice. He really has a talent for fighting? Senior, cover your voice. Don't attract others. Okay. The divine enchanter of Sin Flame nodded slightly. After knocking down the wall, Dong Xiaoyang regained his balance in midair with the help of the force. Looking at Lu Qing, who was closing in on him in a flash, he suddenly hid his eyes, letting them be filled with a terrifying white. He visualized the corresponding picture, shook his chest and abdomen, opened his throat and exhaled loudly, bam. The surroundings suddenly became quiet. Lu Qing felt like he was in an empty room in the middle of the night. He heard a knock at the door and outside the window there were tombs and the cold wind whistling. In an instant he was frightened and nervous. His body could not help but tremble. But his willpower was at its strongest. He quickly calmed down and made a gesture to use the 9 words formula. Forward. His voice turned into a sharp arrow, exploding in front of the enemy with his negative feelings. Dong Xiaoyang's eyes were cold. He did not waver and seized the opportunity to close in on Lu Qing. Using force concentration, he expanded his body and used the double explosion move just now. Bam bam bam. Boom boom boom. Lu Qing responded with a series of dance stage outbursts, but he was beaten back by the duet, again and again. He broke through one wall after another, shaking the entire 6-story building. Clang, clang. Dong Xiaoyang did not recklessly attack head-on. He changed his rhythm and direction from time to time, giving Lu Qing no chance to use simplified physical invulnerability moves or dodge. 5, 6, and 7 explosions in a row. Lu Qing seemed to be at an absolute disadvantage. He kept retreating and crashing into walls. His back hurt, but his footwork didn't falter and his stance didn't falter. Relying on the sensing ability of the ice mirror, he always sensed the enemy's attacks in advance and blocked them by the skin of his teeth. Without this kung fu, he felt that he could not withstand more than a few moves from the duet. Bang! Another load-bearing wall collapsed and the building shook again. Dong Xiaoyang flashed to Lu Cheng's left side, pulled back his arm and punched again, repeating the previous moves. But this time he didn't use force concentration. Instead, he visualized the images of flame condensation and infusion explosion. Simplified physical invulnerability move internal explosion. When the punch hit, the force would explode in the enemy's body. His previous duet frenzied attack was not a feint. It was not an attack specifically designed to numb Lu Cheng and conceal the use of this move. In a life-and-death situation, there was no need for so many complicated and long-term plans. There was only a flash of inspiration in the right time because there were too many variables. Dong Xiaoyang's arm muscles undulated as he threw out a punch. He was expecting Lu Cheng to subconsciously parry his attack like he had done so many times before. If Lu Cheng was aware of it, he could force Lu Cheng to dodge and create an opportunity for him to follow up with a series of attacks. Lu Cheng's heart was like an ice mirror, reflecting the surroundings. He sensed that Dong Xiaoyang did not withdraw his qi, blood, and force at close range. No. He tensed up and his hair stood on end. Grasping the few thoughts that flashed through his mind, he exerted force on his feet and leaped into the air without hesitation. Such a move was the standard way to die in the challenge tournament, unless one had the supernatural ability to fly or was close to the physical invulnerability state. But in today's environment, Lu Cheng would not fall in a hurry and be unable to change his direction. Crack! He jumped close to the ceiling and stretched out his hands. His 10 fingers clenched into the stone and hung in the air. Then he used force concentration. With his fingers as a fulcrum, he bounced back and jumped backward like a gymnast. His feet kicked towards the ceiling as if he was going to use the rebound force to attack. Below, Dong Xiaoyang could almost foresee what would happen if he forcibly changed his direction, jumped up and gave Lu Cheng an internal explosion punch in midair. In that case, Lu Cheng would rebound and change his direction, fall to the ground from another position, and then give him a fatal blow while he was still in midair. The difference between the target is the ceiling and the target is Lu Cheng determined that he couldn't touch the ceiling, so he had nothing to rely on. As the thought flashed through his mind, Dong Xiaoyang lowered his waist and abdomen and made a prelude to change his direction by jumping up. He was trying to trick Lu Cheng into pouncing on him while he moved away from his position and attacked from behind with his elbow. This was not a fake move. It was just that his movement was slow, and he left some leeway. He could still make Lu Cheng's absolute reaction and make a mistake in judgment in a split second. Bang! Lu Cheng stomped his feet with great force, breaking the ceiling and causing the stones to fall. He used the momentum to bounce back, but instead of pouncing on Dong Xiaoyang, he jumped to the window like a fish, as if he wanted to escape from the battlefield. "You want to escape?" Dong Xiaoyang smiled. His lowered waist and abdomen bounced back, and he straightened his knees to change his direction and pounced on Lu Cheng's back. "This is the flaw you exposed yourself." Lu Cheng had just jumped to the window when he felt the sharp pain in his back and the strong wind behind him. However, he did not panic. Instead, he seemed to be expecting something. He put his hands on the window, leaned his body forward and made a twisting kick behind him. Bam! His tattered shoes flew out, along with the red flame and crystal cold light under his feet. They were shot at Dong Xiaoyang who was pouncing on him. Dong Xiaoyang hummed. He exerted strength under his feet and his muscles bulged. He was about to make an explosion in the air and set off a strong wind to trigger the attack of ice and fire in advance. Then he would break through with his body. Boom! Just as he was about to make a move, the fireball exploded first. The high temperature spread out and turned the chaotic cold light into a pervasive fog. It blocked his vision and made him feel that his surroundings were blurred. Bam! The fog split open. A fist with bulging blue and black veins, like a weapon that could split the chaos, smashed toward Dong Xiaoyang's head from above. Escape is for a better attack. Lu Cheng's eyes were sharp and his fist was firm. Most of his muscles bulged and became a little taller, as if he was going to sweep away all obstacles in front of him that would ruin his beautiful life. Dong Xiaoyang, who did not have time to make a duet, could only use force concentration to defend himself. He shook his right arm and moved upward. Bam! This was the first time Dong Xiaoyang was forced to retreat in a life-and-death battle. Lu Cheng was not going to let him go. He quickly closed the distance and made consecutive explosions, not giving his opponent a chance to make a duet. Triple explosion, quadruple explosion, quintuple explosion. He integrated the skills of 24 blizzard strikes into it and fought with Dong Xiaoyang at close range. He punched hard to prevent Dong Xiaoyang from making a weird duet and using unknown secret skills. Sextuple explosion, septuple explosion, octuple explosion. Lu Qing became fiercer and fiercer. He used dance stage explosions as if they were free. At this point he also realized that the killer was weaker than Peng Liyun. He was not close to the inhuman level. In other words, although his opponent was strong, he was not a monster. Bam, bam, bam. Lu Qing was full of fighting spirit. Sweat steamed from his head and condensed into a cloud of white mist. Bam. Dong Xiaoyang was finally crushed by the ferocious, brutal blizzard. He broke through the bearing wall and fell down. The 6-story building shook more and more violently. In the sound of falling stones, Lu Qing stepped on the ground and rushed to his opponent who had just stabilized his center of gravity. In his mind, he visualized the red sun and the frozen river. Boom. The red sun hit the ice river and both disappeared. Lu Qing pulled back his arm and threw out a punch. The mutated version of severe warning. Dong Xiaoyang did not panic in this situation. It was as if he had experienced this countless times. He did not have time to jump up and he knew he could not take it head-on. He simply fell down and rolled. Army. At this moment, Lu Qing dispersed his force and made a hand gesture. He shouted in an ancient voice. Dong Xiaoyang, who was rolling, was shocked. He felt that he was surrounded by enemies because of his situation. After a short tremble, his strong willpower dispersed the influence. But Lu Qing took the opportunity to slide closer and kick out his right leg. Bam, 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 bam. Dong Xiaoyang tried his best to block a few moves, but he was kicked out of his stance and flew into the air, crashing into the wall. Bam. The impact caused the building to sway. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Lu Qing looked calm. He slid forward and was about to break Dong Xiaoyang's neck. At this moment, the shaking building finally reached its limit. Countless stones fell from above, making a dull and horrible sound. Lu Qing paused for a moment. In order to protect himself, he used force concentration to break through the side wall and jump to the open space outside. Dong Xiaoyang smiled bitterly, his eyes full of disappointment. Boom. Lu Qing heard a deafening sound as soon as he steadied himself. He saw half of the 6-story building collapse and then the whole building, burying the terrifying killer inside. He should be dead, right? Lu Qing did not dare to stay in the smoke for fear of other enemies. Taking advantage of the cover, he climbed over the wall into a nearby neighborhood. He found a secret place to hide and then took out his phone to call Geezer. It was the first time he encountered such a situation. Subconsciously, he asked for help from his master. "Hello, master. Someone just tried to kill me," Lu Qing said as soon as the call went through. "Oh, cough. Who dares?" Geezer was stunned at first, then became furious. "I don't know either." Lu Qing was still a little confused. It happened so suddenly that he did not understand what was going on. Who did I offend? He thought, feeling wronged and angry. "Are you safe now? Go find Xing if you are not. Now that you are safe, tell me the key points." Geezer calmed down and asked in confusion. Lu Qing told him what had happened, focusing on the opponent's moves and his own condition. In the end he asked, "Master, do you have any clues?" Geezer was silent for a while before he gritted his teeth and said, "I know what happened. It's okay now. You can go back to sleep. There won't be a next time. Damn it, I'm going to tear down the base and apologize to the simplified physical invulnerability experts of the fire sect. Ahem. Anyway, there won't be a next time. Don't ask about it for now. It won't be good for you." Lu Qing was confused and chose to believe his master. It seemed that there was an inside story behind the attack. He walked out of the secluded place and looked at the place where the fight had just happened. The building had collapsed and smoke was everywhere. What was strange about this was that such a big commotion did not wake up the nearby residents. "Where?" Lu Qing frowned. He thought for a while and called Yanjika. "Qing, you're here?" The girl asked happily. "No, I'm in a situation. Can you bring me a pair of pants?" Lu Qing looked down at his torn jeans and did not know whether to laugh or cry. He was not wearing a martial arts suit because it was not a competition. The tight pants were soon destroyed by the force of the dance stage. Ah. Yanjika was confused. After the barbecue, Jiang Fei led the 4 students to the entrance of the alley and planned to drive around. As they walked, the girl in the Korean coat suddenly exclaimed and pointed to the side. "Isn't there a building there?" The plump girl with a round face looked over and saw the ruins inside the wall. She was also confused. "Yeah, I saw it too. It was there before the barbecue. Why did it collapse? Why did it collapse?" Chapter 356. After realizing this, Dong Xiaoyang's face turned red and his throat made a sound as if it was blocked by old phlegm. His scalp was numb and his teeth were sore. Puff. He spat out a mouthful of blood, which dyed the pillow in front of him red. With the release of this pent-up qi, he felt a lot more relaxed in his chest and abdomen. The internal injuries caused by Lu Qing earlier were relieved, and his mind became clearer. He deeply felt the arrogance that had inflated him in the past year. I understand. He took a deep breath and said with determination in his eyes, I will find the gap and work hard to improve. He had to admit that Lu Qing did have a talent for fighting. Or rather, he was smarter. When he failed to take advantage of the situation and was forced to compete with endurance, he was doomed to lose. Good. The divine enchanter of Sin Flame nodded slightly. Arrogance is not a word invented out of thin air. When you survive a life-and-death battle, it is easy to become arrogant. This is an emotion that needs to be resisted for a long time. It is not something that you can solve once and for all after understanding it today. It was rare for him to say so many words in one breath. Then he turned to Monk Wenguang and said, I will take him back. I am afraid Shi Jiangwo will come to us soon. Hearing this, Monk Wenguang was stunned. His face turned pale and he stammered, You didn't tell Senior Shi? You didn't ask for your master's permission to train his disciple? Merciful Buddha, Namo Amitabha. I almost swore. The divine enchanter of Sin Flame and Shi Jiangwo were at the same level of physical invulnerability. Neither of them could do anything to the other. But I am only a professional sixth pin. No. The divine enchanter of Sin Flame answered seriously, Shi Jiangwo is a man with a tough mouth but a soft heart. Every time he says he will teach his disciple a lesson, he is just going with the flow. He never takes the initiative to do anything. If he was informed in advance, he would definitely say something like, respect the disciple's wishes. When he mentioned Shi Jiangwo's tough mouth but soft heart, a rare smile appeared on his serious face. Since Senior Shi doesn't agree, there is no need to train Lu Qing. Monk Wenguang thought this task was requested by Shi Jiangwo or at least informed him and got his permission. Now that he knew the truth, he almost burst into tears. Warriors who have walked out of life and death battles can't look down on those who have grown up in the challenge tournament. However, this doesn't mean that the challenge tournament can perfectly temper a warrior. Without the pressure of life and death, how can one dig out their greatest potential? How can one improve their willpower? Divine Enchanter of Sin Flame said slowly. But this is someone else's master's matter. What does it have to do with you? What was his problem? Monk Wenguang almost broke the kung fu that he had been practicing for many years. The Divine Enchanter of Sin Flame glanced at him and explained, some things have to be planned in advance. The Dragon King and the Warrior Sage do have hopes of advancing further and stepping into the forbidden territory. However, it is only a hope and does not mean that it is 100% certain. For those who have potential and are friendly, of course we have to train and train them. The more the number, the more possibilities there will be. Otherwise, who will be able to contend with the apostles and SPNX cat in the future? Monk Wenguang's expression changed again. He quickly lowered his voice and said, Elder May's health is failing? Beside him, Dong Xiaoyang also held his breath with a dignified expression. There is no such thing as a master in the Forbidden Realm. We just plan ahead. The Divine Enchanter of Sin Flame waved his hand, grabbed Dong Xiaoyang, opened the door and left. After asking for the address, Yanjika hurriedly changed out of her home clothes and put on her outdoor clothes. She hurriedly ran to another room and rummaged for medicine, gauze, bandages and other things, putting them into a bag. Then she went back to the bedroom, took other bags and went downstairs to the door. When they were shopping in the afternoon and evening, since she had already told Empress Dowager, she bought 2 sets of clothes, pants, socks and shoes for Lu Qing. She planned to give her boyfriend a surprise during the morning exercise tomorrow. Otherwise, she would have to carefully take out Father Yan's old pants. After changing her shoes and socks, Yanjika shouted, Hey! Mom, Dad, Sister Jingjing is looking for me. I will be back soon. In the study, Yan Kai leaned out. So late. Let me give you a ride. Before he finished his words, he saw the door close and his daughter was out of sight. She is so careless. I don't know what she wants to do. Since his daughter was already a professional 9th pin fighter, Yan Kai was not worried. He just laughed and scolded her. Ji Mingyu left the computer and went to her husband, looking at the door suspiciously. She had never been careless since she was in high school. Well, only when it came to that brat. Yanjika took a taxi to Old Lou's barbecue restaurant. She followed the GPS and entered an old neighborhood. In a dark corner, she saw a familiar figure. Seeing that the lower half of Lu Cheng's trousers were falling apart, including his crotch, the girl quickly turned her head and looked to the side. Somehow she felt like laughing. She bit her lips and tried to hold back her laughter. She whispered, "You have the style of an artist." "A performance artist?" Lu Cheng had calmed down and asked self-deprecatingly. Yanjika pursed her lips and smiled. She moved closer and stuffed a few bags of clothes into Lu Cheng's hands. "It's good that you know. Go change." "Huh. New clothes and pants. This style doesn't look like my father-in-law's. Is there still a shop open at this time?" Lu Cheng looked at the bags. "I bought them for you when I was shopping. Are you touched? Are you surprised?" Seeing Lu Cheng acting normal, Yanjika put down her worries and said in a light tone, "Yes, I am. Surprised." Lu Cheng lowered his head and smiled warmly. Wasn't this scene the reason why he fought so hard in a life-and-death situation? Didn't his strong desire to survive and firm will in dangerous situations come from such details? He turned around and was about to hide behind a tree and change into pants. Yanjika's eyes widened and she exclaimed in a low voice, "You're back." She had thought that what Lu Cheng said was just a superficial wound, so she didn't urge him to deal with it quickly. Who knew that when her boyfriend turned around, what she saw was a bloody mess of flesh and a few deep scratches. Lu Cheng wriggled his muscles and stopped the bleeding so the wound didn't look so bad. "It's nothing. It'll be fine after a few days of dressing." Lu Cheng comforted her. "Liar. How can you call it a little bruise when it's so deep?" Yanjika was worried and angry. "Find a place to sit down. I'll help you." She wasn't angry at Lu Cheng, but at those bad guys who attacked her boyfriend for no reason. Who would like to be involved in a life-and-death situation? We like to live a stable life. Okay. Lu Cheng didn't hurry to change his pants. He didn't want to be stained with blood. He didn't want to expose this in front of his parents so that they wouldn't be worried. Under the dim light of the street lamp, Yanjika cleaned the blood on Lu Cheng's back with cotton wool and disinfected it. She threw one piece after another, which made Lu Cheng feel bursts of pain. Even if he was a master, he still felt the pain. However, during this process, looking at the weeds in front of him, the fragments of stones, and the dark yellow glow, listening to the girl's incessant nagging, and experiencing her careful movements, he felt a sweetness in his heart. He felt that the piercing pain was not so obvious, and he felt that the cold wind that was blowing like knives was not so unbearable. After Yanjika tied his torso like a mummy, Lu Cheng hid behind a tree and quickly changed into new clothes. "I can play the pharaoh like this," he joked. Yanjika hummed. "Fortunately, I brought enough gauze and bandages. If you went back like that, people would call the police. That's why you came here, not me." Lu Cheng walked out from behind the tree and laughed. Remember to remind me to change your dressing every day. Also, take this bottle of 6 life pills. Take 2 pills 3 times a day. It can help heal your internal injuries. Don't be fooled by the fact that you're fine now. You may have some hidden injuries." Yanjika handed the rest of the things in the bag to him. Listening to her nagging, Lu Cheng's expression was gentle, and his eyes were smiling. After that, Yanjika asked curiously, "Where did you guys fight earlier? Did you win?" A fierce fight between 2 sixth-pin fighters would definitely leave obvious traces. Lu Cheng pointed at a spot not far away and said, "Yeah, over there." Yanjika looked over and opened her mouth a little. She said to herself blankly, "When I passed by during the day, there should be a building there." After 2 days of changing his dressing, with Lu Cheng's current physical condition, all the wounds had scabbed and faded away, revealing new skin. Yanjika was right. He did have some internal injuries and needed to take medicine for another 3 or 4 days to recover. But this did not affect his usual training, and his face was a little pale because of it. At this time, it was time for the Lu family to go back to their hometown to worship their ancestors. After another discussion, they decided not to stay overnight in Qingfu, and to go back on the same day. It was only an hour-and-a-half trip. As for the old couple, if they wanted to stay in their hometown for a few more days, they would stay with their relatives who would come to pick them up. At 9 o'clock in the morning, Lu Cheng, who had washed off his tiredness from the morning exercise, boarded a van with his parents and sat in the back with his cousin Lu Yanwei and cousin Ma Shi. In front of them were his second aunt Wang Lily and his parents, while his second uncle Lu Jiqiang sat in the passenger seat. The other car was driven by Lu Cheng's uncle Ma Guiqin, carrying Lu Jixian, Ma Jiala, and Lu Debong. It was cold outside the window. Lu Cheng was playing with his mobile phone when he felt the car start, heading for Qingfu County in Lining City. That was his hometown where he had no sense of belonging. Chapter 357. Outside the car window, Lu Qing had no intention of appreciating the scenery. He chatted with Yenjika on QQ, browsed forums, Weibo and other places, and listened to his parents, second uncle and second aunt from time to time. Occasionally he would add a few words. After that night's battle, he realized that his willpower had made another breakthrough. His ability to control his mind had become stronger, and he was more resistant to negative emotions such as fear, nervousness, and fear. Furthermore, he had also improved the application of his own moves and judgment in battle. He had also obtained excellent training. Even so, he still didn't like the surprise attack, but he was not as angry as before. As for the endorsement contract of the martial arts shoes, Wu Qinggui, who was on a business trip, approved the modification in principle. Once he came back, both parties could sign the contract officially and try to finish the process before the new year. In that case, Lu Qing could receive the endorsement fee of 700,000 yuan after the Spring Festival. While Lu Yanwei was playing games on his mobile phone and Ma Shi was listening to music with her eyes closed, time flew by. The car got off the highway and entered the county road. After several turns and stops, they entered the boundary of Liangtian village. We're almost there. Lu Cheng's father, Lu Jisheng, reminded his drowsy wife and brother and sister-in-law. We're almost there? Lu Cheng looked out of the car window curiously, looking at the so-called hometown. Lu Yanwei put down his phone and leaned over to look at her. Ma Shi didn't notice him at all. She was still listening to the music with her eyes closed. No one knew if she had fallen asleep. Outside was a two-lane rural road with many two-story and three-story houses built on the side. They all had courtyards in front of their houses and some of them even had cars parked there. They all have cars. Lu Yanwei murmured to himself with a complicated tone. Lu Qing wanted to laugh. He vaguely understood his cousin's mentality. To him, going back to his hometown to worship ancestors was like a city person going to the countryside. Naturally, he had a sense of superiority. However, he found that the villagers had all bought cars. Even if the brands were not eye-catching, they were still small cars. Lu Yanwei's own family didn't even have one. The countryside is quite rich now. Lu Yanwei's mother, Wang Lily, sighed in a similar tone. Lu Jisheng's father, Lu Jisheng, chuckled. Times are different now. There's a shortage of labor. As long as you're willing to work hard and have a skill, you can earn more than me every month. Plus, you don't have to pay taxes. Well, it's not very stable, so there's no guarantee. That's right. I heard that it costs a lot to hire a worker these days. Not to mention carpentry and masonry, the driver interrupted. But it can't be that every family is a carpenter and can earn so much, right? Lu Cheng's second uncle, Lu Jiqiang, didn't hide his doubts. That's for sure. But think about it, we're all from the same village. We can all see who has a house and a car. Who would be willing to lower themselves to others? Who would be willing to say that their partner was looked down upon by others? Then we have to follow. We have to grit our teeth and live frugally, unless we really have no other choice. The driver had traveled extensively and had seen many similar things. Lu Jiqiang smiled and said, "That's what I said. There's a lot of competition in the countryside." Lu Yanwei retracted his gaze and comforted himself. But Lu Cheng could see his disappointment and unwillingness. Lu Cheng's cousin had never been content with the status quo. He was always thinking about starting a business and getting rich quickly. Now that he was stimulated, it was inevitable that he would react. When Lu Yanwei was trying to start a business, Lu Cheng had always maintained an attitude of neither opposing nor encouraging him. He didn't want to be blamed by his second uncle and second aunt. As the car continued to move forward, more trees appeared on both sides of the road. The houses were no longer just on both sides of the road. Gradually, the atmosphere of a village began to appear. After a few turns, the Lu family arrived at the newly built ancestral hall and saw an old man with sparse white hair standing at the door. "Debong, you're early? No traffic jams?" The old man greeted them with a smile and said to Lu Cheng's grandfather, Lu Debong. Lu Debong said excitedly, "Third brother, why are you here? There's no traffic jams. It's been a smooth journey." Hearing the third brother, Lu Cheng roughly knew who the old man was. He was his grandfather's cousin, Lu Deguang, his third grandfather. He was the one who called for the revision of the genealogy in the new ancestral hall. If it weren't for Lu Cheng's mother nagging about the money, he wouldn't have remembered this elder. "I'm so excited, Debong. How many years has it been since we last met? You're already half buried in the earth. Every time we see each other, it's rare to see you again." Lu Deguang showed obvious joy. After greeting each other, he pulled Lu Debong into the ancestral hall and nagged, Later you'll burn incense to the ancestors, worship them and finish the genealogy. At noon we'll have a banquet when Jilin comes back. In the afternoon we'll sweep the tombs on the mountain. Jilin is so busy. You don't need him to come back, do you? Lu Debang said in surprise. It's not easy for your fourth uncle to come here. How dare he not come back? When he was a child you loved him the most. Every time you saw him you would give him money. Lu Deguang waved his hand and said in high spirits, and most of his business has been handed over to Erzi, so he has a lot of free time. Lu Qing quietly followed behind and listened to them just like Lu Yanwei and Ma Shi. Lu Qing had heard about Jilin from his mother in the car. He was the eldest son of his third grandfather, Lu Deguang. At first, he went to Qingfu County with a few villagers to help people with renovations. Later he jumped out and started his own business. The more he did, the more successful he became. He had already moved to the city, but Lu Deguang refused to go with him, saying that he didn't want to leave the ancestral house. As for Erzi, he was Lu Jilin's only son, his cousin. His mother didn't mention his name, but said that he was more successful than his father and had expanded his business to Lening City. Erzi hasn't married yet? Lu Debang asked casually. Lu Deguang said with disappointment, not yet. He hasn't even settled on a girlfriend. Every time I talk about him he just smiles. Don't be fooled by his ability. If he still doesn't find a wife in 2 years, I'll make him kneel in the ancestral hall. The corners of Lu Cheng's mouth twitched when he heard this. Whether to get married, when to get married, whether to have children, and when to have children all depended on one's personal choice. Mixing the ancestors and the ancestral hall was simply full of ancient flavor, just like a painted zombie jumping out of the grave. Fortunately he didn't care about this. If it was reasonable he would listen. If it was unreasonable he wouldn't ask for more. After entering the ancestral hall, they bowed to the ancestors and paid the money. Lu Deguang took out a piece of red paper and asked his father, Lu Jisheng, to write down the family tree here. When the time came it would be recorded in the family tree. After everything was done, the 7 aunts and 8 aunts also came over. All the relatives sat around the square table and chatted casually. They talked about where their spouse worked, what their child did, whether they had a partner, how was their studies. Lu Jiqiang and Wang Lili were a little embarrassed to talk about these topics. They only said that Lu Yanwei had a girlfriend and a stable job, but it didn't work out. Lu Cheng's mother, Qi Fang, seemed to be on steroids and relived the wonderful feeling when Lu Cheng was admitted to university. My Cheng is studying at Songqing University. Don't you know Songqing University? It doesn't matter. Do you know Xing Province University? Songqing University is better than that. My Cheng won the provincial youth tournament. Don't you know the provincial youth tournament? It doesn't matter. Just know that the prize money is hundreds of thousands. Lu Cheng couldn't bear the exclamations. He looked at his cousin Lu Yanwei and cousin Ma Shi, who were so embarrassed that they wanted to dig a hole in the ground. He said to Lu Debang, Grandpa, let's go for a walk. We'll be back soon. As he spoke, he stood up. Lu Yanwei and Ma Shi both breathed a sigh of relief and followed him. After leaving the ancestral hall, they walked along the road and gradually calmed down. They looked around with interest. This is the first time I've been here. Ma Shi looked at the river not far away and found that there were traces of fish in it. She grew up in the city and became very excited. Lu Yanwei was the same. He found everything new. It's winter and it's not frozen. What's so interesting about it? Lu Qing took a picture and sent it to Ko. His grandparents lived in the countryside and were used to such scenes. While they were talking, they passed by a house and saw a middle-aged man practicing martial arts in the courtyard. The crisp sounds were continuous and it was extremely powerful. Don't look. Let's go. It's taboo. Lu Qing patted Lu Yanwei and Ma Shi on the shoulder and reminded them. After a few steps, Lu Yanwei lowered his voice and said, I think that man is very strong. Qing, who is stronger between you and him? How can I show off when you ask so directly? Lu Qing said with a smile. He has the strength of professional 9th pin and keeps his qi and blood strong. He didn't directly say that he was stronger, but it was obvious from his rank. Oh, you have defeated a professional 7th pin fighter. You must be much stronger than him. Lu Yanwei suddenly realized. Brother, isn't that nonsense? Ma Shi complained. At this time they saw a group of children playing on the side of the road in front of them. They were playing with toy swords and inflatable sticks, making a big fuss. They were very excited. Witnessing this scene, Lu Qing couldn't help but reminisce. He smiled and said, Back then I had a sword that I made myself. I cut it out of bamboo and made a scabbard for it with a bamboo tube. Every time I pulled it out I felt like a hero. Unfortunately, it was left at my grandfather's house. I don't know who lost it. I remember. You showed off to me and I asked you to make one for me. But you didn't remember. Lu Yanwei said with a smile. Hey, that kid is playing methodically. He pointed at the child with the toy sword. Not bad, right? My son? A man came up to him and said with a smile. It was the middle-aged man who had been practicing boxing in his yard. He had a square face and a lot of pockmarks on his skin. Lu Qing had already noticed him. He asked with a smile, Is this a family heirloom? Yes. Our ancestors were hunters for generations. This is my youngest son. My eldest son got the certificate of professional 9th pin and is a substitute in the Bat Squad. Have you heard of the Bat Squad? The middle-aged man said casually. No. Lu Yanwei and Ma Shi shook their heads. Lu Qing had heard of it but didn't want to ask. Haha, are you the Lu family who came back to worship the ancestors today? The middle-aged man asked. Yes. Lu Qing nodded calmly. Just then they heard the roar of a motor and saw a black car coming around the corner. Then, it lost control and crashed into the side of the road, crashing into the group of children. The children were scared out of their wits and no one moved. The middle-aged man's hair stood on end and he rushed to his youngest son without thinking. He wanted to hold him and get away from the danger. As for the others, he didn't have time to care about them. He exerted force on his feet and jumped. When he reached the child, he heard the sound of the engine running faster and found the black car was already in front of him. Seeing the driver with a red face and panicked eyes, the middle-aged man was angry and sullen. He felt that he couldn't escape. Damn it. This drunkard mistook the accelerator for the brake. Just as he was in despair, he suddenly saw a figure leap past and heard a muffled sound of collision. Bang. Lu Qing retracted and released his Dan force. Using both hands he managed to lift the front of the car. The back wheels of the black car spun crazily and rubbed against the ground, making a sharp noise and sparks. But it couldn't move forward anymore. Crack. The cement under Lu Cheng's feet cracked and the black car's head caved in. Chapter 358. Bang. Amidst the eerie silence, Lu Cheng saw that the tire had completely stopped spinning. He loosened his grip and let the miserable-looking front of the car fall to the ground. The man in his 30s who was sitting in the driver's seat with a blank look on his face jumped up in fear. Just as Lu Cheng was about to step forward, open the door by force, drag this drunk driver out and teach him a lesson, several families nearby heard the commotion, rushed out and asked in confusion, "What's wrong? What's the matter? What happened? What's the situation?" Only then did the frightened children come to their senses. They cried and screamed, making the scene a mess. The middle-aged man surnamed Yu came to his senses and looked at Lu Cheng's back. He swallowed hard and turned his attention back to business. When he turned back he was so angry that his chest was about to explode. He held the child, straightened up and shouted, "That bastard was drunk and driving and almost hit Jun Fei and the others. If it weren't for that young man they would have been dead." With a buzz in his head, the men and women who came over became anxious and rushed to the black car in the midst of the children's cries. F***CK. F***CKU. I'm going to kill you. In the midst of the cursing they walked past Lu Cheng, opened the car door and dragged the driver out. They dragged him to the nearby river, beating and kicking him as they dragged. Ah! The driver screamed again and again, calling for help. Lu Cheng's mouth twitched. He silently stepped back and pretended that he didn't hear anything. This drunk driver deserved to be beaten to death. The scene when everyone rushed over was so shocking that even he was shocked and didn't take the initiative to punch the driver. Is this the consequence of provoking public anger? Help! The driver was pressed into the cold water, choked a few times and was lifted up again. He finally sobered up completely and understood his situation. He cried and shouted, "Call the police! Call the police! Call the police!" After being pressed into the river and beaten, they finally calmed down. Among them, the middle-aged man surnamed Yu was the first to come to his senses and stop the villagers from hitting the vital parts of the body. Under such circumstances, there was a reason why the perpetrator was beaten up so severely. The law did not punish the majority, and the police would not pursue the matter. However, if someone really died there would be a lot of trouble. Seeing the driver curled up in pain he called the police and then walked over to Lu Cheng. He looked at the black car with a dented head and the tire marks on the ground as if he were looking at a monster. He said with fear and horror, "Thank you, thank you. If it weren't for you, we and the other children would have died here today." "It's nothing," Lu Cheng replied politely. The middle-aged man surnamed Yu was rendered speechless as he recalled the sight of Lu Xian lifting the carriage with both hands. It was really a piece of cake. Your kung fu is amazing. The middle-aged man with the surname Yu sighed in amazement. In the end, he asked carefully, do you want to follow him to the police station? Can I not go? Lu Qing retorted. It was troublesome to go through the procedures in the past. It delayed his lunch and tomb sweeping. Yes, we have so many witnesses and people involved. It's enough. The middle-aged man with the surname Yu imitated the tone of a TV series. Besides, the police won't say much about a martial artist who can directly block a car with his foot on the gas pedal. We can be witnesses. You acted bravely for a just cause. Damn it, that bastard must go to jail. Okay, if you really need me to testify, call me. Lu Qing gave him his phone number and name. The middle-aged man surnamed Yu finished recording and called back. I'm Yu Zhong. When I'm done with the police station, I'll come to the ancestral hall of the Lu family to formally thank you. No need, no need. That's enough. Lu Qing hurriedly waved his hand. Yu Zhong thought for a moment and said, then, if you want to eat game, call me. As long as it's not a protected animal, I'll definitely get it for you. It's definitely authentic. Okay. Lu Qing did not refuse his gratitude again. Watching the three of them go back the way they came, Yu Zhong touched his son's head. He still felt fear in his heart. The image of Lu Qing stomping on the cement ground and blocking the black car flashed in front of him. Damn it, what was the first thing I wanted to say to him? It seemed like I wanted to say, young man, you don't look very healthy. You need to exercise more. Cough, cough. On the way back to the ancestral hall, Lu Qing coughed twice, took out the 6 life pills and hurriedly took 2. Ma Shi, who had been silent since the beginning of the incident, was awakened by the cough. She took a deep look at her cousin and said with a sigh, second brother, you're really a human Gundam, yeah? Lu Yanwei beside her also broke the silence. The battle in the ring often did not let most people directly see the horror of a martial artist, but the previous incident was not the case. Back in the ancestral hall, the conversation was still going on, but the focus had shifted to the younger generation of Lu Cheng's grandfather. Lu Qing, Lu Yanwei and Ma Shi found a corner and sat down listening with great interest. After a while, the news of the car accident outside was passed from person to person, which made everyone curse the drunk driver. Since Yu Zhong went to the police station, people only knew that a young man helped to save people, but did not know who he was or how he saved people, which saved Lu Qing a lot of trouble. At lunchtime, Lu Jilin, who had been called by many people, drove back to the ancestral hall with his wife. He looked a bit like Lu Cheng's father and second uncle, but even if he wore glasses, he couldn't hide his fierce-looking face and a bit of a gangster's temperament. If he didn't look like this, he wouldn't be able to control others. Oh, fourth uncle, I've been waiting for you to come back. I've been telling my wife and children that among the elders, you love me the most, even more than my father. Lu Jilin was very enthusiastic, but it was hard to tell whether he was sincere or good at social interaction. Lu Debong was very surprised and touched his old eyes. You're the first son in our family. Who else would I love if not you? After Lu Jilin met Lu Jisheng and Lu Cheng, Lu Deguang asked, where's Erzi? Didn't he come back? Oh, fourth uncle, I'm sorry. Erzi cooperated with others to form the Bat team, which is valued by the city leaders. He has a competition today and can't come back. He asked me to say hello to you. Lu Jilin held Lu Debang's hand and said, it's okay. Business is more important. Lu Debang did not mind. The Bat team. Lu Qing smiled and did not say anything. During the banquet, Lu Jilin took care of everything. He did not neglect his peers, but also made Lu Cheng and the other juniors feel valued. When they asked about their studies several times, they showed great admiration for the scholar. After lunch, they rested for a while and then went to the back mountain with the Lu family to sweep the tombs of their ancestors. They were busy until 4:30 when Lu Cheng's father, Lu Jisheng, said goodbye. After several persuasions, Lu Jilin sent them to the entrance of the village. Lu Debang and his wife did not stay and followed them back. In the speeding car, Lu Qing recalled what had happened today and found that he only recognized his third grandpa and Uncle Jilin. He had no impression of the other relatives. It was too messy. Alas, I never thought I would be face blind one day, but this was not important. What was important was that they were going to Qingfu County to eat the famous tofu banquet, where all the dishes were made of tofu. At around 8:00 p.m. A Trident sports car stopped in front of the Lu family's ancestral house in Liangtian village. Erzi, why are you back so late? Lu Deguang stood at the door and said with a straight face. The door of the sports car opened and a man in casual clothes got out. He was less than 30 years old, with thick hair and a round face with ordinary features. I just finished my work. He shook the key. Your fourth grandpa and the others left long ago, Lu Deguang said with hatred. Erzi laughed and said, well, I'm back to ask Uncle Yu for some game. My friends want to eat. Lu Deguang turned around and went into the house. Lu Jilin laughed and said, Erzi, you have to take care of your grandpa's feelings. Your fourth grandpa doesn't need to talk to him. What's wrong with your words? Yes. Erzi smiled carelessly. He entered the house and saw the red paper on the table. He asked casually, fourth grandpa and the others paid the money? Is this the family tree in their area? Of course. Your fourth grandpa takes it very seriously. Lu Deguang smoked and answered in a bad mood. Erzi did not say anything. He glanced at the red paper and saw the words, Lu Yueqi written in black ink at the top. Lu Debang. Lu Jisheng. Lu Qing. Lu Qing? As he watched, Erzi suddenly raised his head. His eyes widened as he looked at his grandfather and said, what's the matter? Fourth grandpa and the others are in Xioshan? Chapter 359. Yeah. Didn't I tell you before? Lu Deguang stared at Erzi. It's been too long. Erzi slapped his forehead in regret. Back then, when his grandfather had mentioned the relatives over there, he hadn't been paying attention at all and had forgotten about it. After a few seconds he asked, when did fourth grandpa leave? Didn't I tell you? They left long ago. Lu Deguang was a little angry and took a puff of his pipe. Under Lu Jilin's puzzled gaze, Erzi paced back and forth and suddenly said, Grandpa, give me fourth grandpa's phone number. I'll call to say hello and apologize. When Lu Deguang heard this, he immediately calmed down and smiled again. That's more like it. Well, the number is... He was very happy to see that his grandson cared about his relatives. After writing down the number, Erzi dialed it directly. After a while, he heard an old and puzzled voice. Hello. Hello, fourth grandpa. I'm Erzi. He smiled and said his name directly so as not to be mistaken as a swindler. Erzi? You're home? Why did you call me? Lu Debang was pleasantly surprised. Erzi said respectfully, I was too busy and couldn't make it back in time. Can I apologize to you? No, business is more important. Lu Debang was a little flattered. I remember the last time I saw you was when I was in my teens. It's a pity that I missed you. How about this, fourth grandpa? I'll come to visit you during the spring festival. Please leave the door open for me, Erzi said warmly. Okay. Anytime. Lu Debang replied happily. After chatting for a while and asking about fourth grandpa's health, Erzi hung up the phone and looked at his grandfather, who looked satisfied. Then he turned to his father, Lu Jilin, and said, Dad, let's visit fourth grandpa's family more during the spring festival. He couldn't show too much enthusiasm. The best way was to visit relatives and warm up to them gradually. Not to mention the Wuxia Club of the Ice God sect, a 19-year-old professional sixth pin of the dance stage was already a big shot. Ah. Lu Jilin looked at his son in surprise, his face full of confusion. He couldn't understand why his son's attitude would change so quickly. It was as if he was possessed. In the living room of Lu Jiqiang's house, Lu Debang put down his cell phone. Satisfied with being valued by his relatives, he smiled happily. Erzi's not bad. You respect your elders very much. He nagged and started to discuss Erzi enthusiastically with father and mother Lu. Even now, Lu Qing, who was sitting on a chair in the living room, still didn't know Erzi's name. He smiled thoughtfully and continued to chat with his little fairy girl on his phone. I'm done. You can send me the picture of the tofu feasts. Yenjika replied. Today her family's dinner was late because there were relatives coming over. Sure. Lu Qing sent the photos of the hydrangea tofu, steamed tofu, crab roe tofu, and braised pork tofu. They are all tofu. There are so many varieties and they look delicious. Yenjika said with a salivating expression. Lu Qing replied with an evil smile, but they are missing my favorite tofu. Bro. Yenjika replied with an angry expression. What are you thinking of? I'm talking about that kind of crispy tofu, the kind that can absorb the juices. You put shredded radish in it, soak it in vinegar soy sauce and take a bite. TSK. Am I such a hooligan? What are you thinking about? Lu Qing replied with an expression of pushing up his sunglasses. I won't talk to you anymore. Yenjika replied with an emoji. Lu Qing almost laughed in front of the elders. In order to hide his abnormality, he got up and walked to the balcony. He saw his young cousin Ma Shi looking at the night scenery. Xiushan is developing fast. Lu Qing glanced out of the window. There were many residential areas nearby, tall buildings and bright lights. I'm so envious of you now. Ma Shi sighed without answering his question. Her tone was full of sadness. Why are you so sad at such a young age? Lu Qing scolded with a smile. Ma Shi was amused by him. She laughed and said, Brother, did you not go through puberty? Don't you know that kids at this age are very rebellious and sentimental? I wasn't rebellious or sentimental when I was in puberty. Lu Qing was speechless. He had studied hard in junior high and high school, and his grades had paid off his hard work. Usually he would read novels and play games. He didn't have many friends, but they were all nice people. He had never been rebellious or sentimental. As for his crush on Yenjika, he didn't think he had a chance at all. He just saw it as a pure and beautiful experience. Humanoid Gundam. Ma Shi couldn't help but complain. She paused and said, Brother, I'm living on campus now. Living on campus? Lu Qing asked in surprise. Well, I always stay at home and feel unhappy when I see my parents spoiling Majala. It's better to live on campus. Occasionally my parents call me and I'm quite happy. Ma Shi looked out of the window and said in a mature tone that was beyond her age. That's good. What's close to you? Lu Qing wanted to drop a book bag, but he couldn't remember that sentence. It's not right to use this sentence to describe it. Ma Shi retorted with a smile. Brother, your level of knowledge has dropped a lot. Well, let's not talk about professional knowledge. The third year of high school is the peak of my comprehensive knowledge. Lu Qing blushed. Seeing that his cousin had thought things through by herself, he was relieved. A few days later, Lu Qing was alone again. Yenjika's father, his future father-in-law, had started to rest. The Empress Dowager's company also entered a long holiday. The family of three went back to Yenjika's grandfather's house in Jinkei County. They would spend the new year there until the third day of the new year. Lu Qing was a little depressed. He thought that the Yen family would bring the elders and relatives to Xiushan for the new year, but he and Ku would be separated for a few days. The first day of the new year, the second day of the second month of the Gregorian calendar, was his 20th birthday. The depression didn't last long. When Lu Qing received a call from his master, he was completely relieved. He was told to go to Wuxia on the first day of the new year to burn incense for the ancestors. The first time for a new direct disciple was relatively formal, so it didn't have to be on the first day of the new year. Well, since both sides were busy, this was the only way. Lu Qing stayed with his grandparents for 2 days. When he came back, it was already the eve of the new year. Before dawn, he continued his training in the biting cold wind. He felt that he had gotten rid of the word weak of 6th pin. At this time last year, he was just a rookie trying to reach professional 9th pin. After finishing his morning exercise, he jogged outside. Just as he took a few steps, he suddenly stopped. He saw a beautiful girl in white sitting on a bench next to the park. She was looking at him with a smile. Lu Qing blinked and shouted in surprise, Ku? Isn't she at her grandfather's house in Jinkei County? Yenjika stood up, pursed her lips and looked to the side. There's something I forgot to give you. What's that? Lu Qing took 2 quick steps forward and came before the girl. Here, your birthday present. I asked someone to make a custom-made wallet. Yenjika pretended to be careless and handed a dark blue wallet to her boyfriend. Lu Qing couldn't hide his smile. While holding the wallet, he also held the girl's hand, which was cold in the wind. You coming here is the best present. Meat numb? Yenjika rolled her eyes and scolded him silently. Then she said, I don't like that wallet of yours for a long time. She used this excuse to hide her intentions. Lu Qing moved his heat flow to warm her delicate hand. He pulled her to sit down again and recalled the past. Last year, when you called me to say happy birthday and sang the birthday song, I was so surprised that I wanted to shout from my aunt's balcony. Humph, I mustered up my courage to call you and you still forced me to sing. Yenjika's eyes were full of sweet annoyance. Give me an inch and I want a yard. Lu Qing held the girl's waist and kissed her when no one was around. He expressed his meaning with his actions. After a few minutes of whispering sweet nothings, Yenjika suddenly woke up and said, I have to go back. I told them I was going to buy something, but I ended up in Xiushan. She had come by the earliest train and had to get back before lunchtime. Lu Qing's heart skipped a beat. Then I'll send you back to Jinkei. Okay. Yenjika didn't refuse and nodded in surprise. On New Year's Eve, Lu Qing, who had just returned from Jinkei County, happily spent the new year at his grandfather's house. From time to time, he put his hand into his pocket and touched the new wallet. Since he was successful, Lu Yanwei didn't make a fuss last year. The family was very comfortable without any hidden worries and happily welcomed the new year. When it was almost 12 o'clock, Lu Qing was about to sneak to the balcony to call Ku when he suddenly felt his phone vibrate. He looked at the screen and saw the name Little Fairy. What a coincidence. I was just about to call you. On the balcony, Lu Qing leaned against the corner and said happily, "Isn't it because it's almost your birthday?" Yan Zhika replied proudly, "I was just waiting to say happy birthday to you and then go to bed. Anyway, I'm very flattered." Lu Qing smiled to express his feelings. Yan Zhika laughed. After a few words, the firecrackers outside started to sound fiercely, covering all the sounds. Lu Qing and Yan Zhika didn't talk just like last year. Relying on their keen senses, they quietly listened to each other's breathing, which went deep into their hearts. When the crackling sounds died down, Lu Qing said in a warm and peaceful mood, "Happy New Year. Happy New Year and happy birthday to you too." "How can I say happy birthday to you?" "Of course you should celebrate my birthday with me." Okay. Can you sing another song today? What do you want to hear? Birthday song? Sing, "I'm going to marry you tomorrow." No. Sing it. Just one sentence. Outside the window, fireworks were everywhere. The beginning of a new year was bright and glorious. Chapter 360. It was late at dawn on the first day of the new year. Lu Qing finished his training and ate the longevity noodles cooked by his mother. Then he carried his luggage and the original proof wine. He walked out of the house in the dark, humming the melody of "You're Going to Marry Me Today." He didn't have time to browse the internet until he got on the train to the airport and replied to Yan Zhika's message. When he entered the forum, he saw a new post from Lu Cheng's girlfriend. Yan Zhika posted last night, "Happy New Year to all of you. Sofa, let's have fun together." Brahman replied with a bouncing emoji. Wonton Seller replied, "Glutinous rice ball, good New Year to all of you. I wish myself a smooth college entrance examination and look forward to our reunion in the summer vacation." So annoying. I was squeezed into the sewer while I was eating snacks. Eternal nightfall. Yan Shaoling knew that Yan Zhika was going to post, but she still missed it. Well, let's rewind. Happy New Year to all of you. Happy birthday to Lu Qing. Haha, we can't call him a 19-year-old sixth pin anymore. We have to call him a 20-year-old sixth pin. Unparalleled Dragon King laughed. I'm late, so I won't say Happy New Year to all of you. I wish all of you good health and vigor. May you have a baby soon. Okamoto's fan didn't change his attitude. Looking at everyone's joking and blessings, Lu Qing's mood was like the sky outside, gradually brightening up as a warm sun rose. No matter where he went, there was always a group of people he didn't know supporting him. This feeling was very, very good. He arrived at Shanghao Airport in Wuxia Province at noon and saw his senior sister Shi Yuejian in the arrival hall. Shi Yuejian was wearing a pair of black-rimmed glasses with no degrees. She waved her hand and said softly but far away, "Why did you bring wine to your master again?" "I'm afraid he won't let me in if I don't bring wine." Lu Qing made a joke. Shi Yuejian shook her head helplessly. "You have to watch him and control the amount he drinks." Lu Qing smiled bitterly. "Senior sister, do you think he'll listen to me? If you nag him more, he will listen to you." Shi Yu laughed and began to teach him the true scripture. That's the kind of attitude he has for his daughter. Will he beat me up if I'm like that? Lu Qing said self-deprecatingly. "Well, sorry to trouble you." Shi Yu smiled, turned around and led Lu Qing to the parking lot where her sedan car was parked. Geezer Shi, who was sitting in the back row, poked his head out. His eyes lit up as he said, "Brat, you're getting more and more mature. Come to me." "Dad, don't drink so much. You've been coughing so badly recently." Shi Yuejian nagged. Okay. Just one bite at a time." Geezer Shi rubbed his temples and gave in. After getting in the car, Shi Yuejian pointed to the man in his 30s in the driver's seat and said, "Your brother-in-law Wu Huikang." "Hello, brother-in-law." Lu Qing greeted him with a smile. His brother-in-law was not a disciple of the Ice God sect. He was a professional manager, but he also practiced martial arts. A few years ago he finally reached the dance stage. Currently, he was in charge of part of the Ice God sect's industry on behalf of his master. Wu Huikang was tall and had short hair. He looked smart and gentle. As he started the car, he smiled and said, Hello, little junior brother. Your senior sister has been talking about you for the past 6 months. She always says that my little junior brother is so powerful and has so much potential. I'm so jealous of you. I'm not exaggerating. Sure, Yuejian protested. You don't spoil your junior brother with your praises. Geezer sure agreed with his son-in-law and said, this brat will become arrogant and complacent if we don't teach him a lesson from time to time. Then he looked at Lu Cheng and said, I've helped you get the compensation for the previous incident. The internal explosion punch of the fire sect, which is a simplified version of physical invulnerability. I'll give it to you later. I'll also teach you 3 moves of the ice sect this time: North Wind, Polar, and Frost. Okay. Lu Cheng was invigorated. Geezer sure glanced at him and said, I could have asked for more, like the explosive punch. But you don't have a good foundation, so you have to practice carefully. You can't be greedy. My Thunder Roar Zen is famous. How many dance stage and inhuman experts were killed by it? Look at you now. How long has it been since you used it in a battle? It's because you don't master it well enough. Yes, master. After being reminded, Lu Cheng also felt that he had neglected something in his practice. Although it was not like a monkey moving corn, it was close enough. Sure, Yuejian, who was sitting in the passenger seat, was listening quietly. Then she interrupted, internal explosion punch? Junior brother, you have to be careful. Try not to use it when you practice. The core moves of the fire sect are known for their violence, which is completely different from our ice sect. Once internal explosion punch is used, the opponent will definitely suffer internal injuries. Even if they are close to the inhuman level, they can't take 3 punches like this. After 3 punches they will die. Then she smiled and said, when you reach the inhuman level, you can come and practice with me. The saber techniques of the ice sect are also superb. What saber practice? Isn't it troublesome to bring them here and there? Isn't it troublesome to destroy them after a few rounds? The most powerful and reliable thing for a martial artist is his own fist and body. Geezer sure said disdainfully. Lu Cheng then remembered his senior sister's nickname, Black and White Magical Saber, Shi Yuejian. The 4 of them talked and laughed as the car sped out of the city and onto the winding mountain road. They arrived at the Ice God sect halfway up the Yambing Mountain. Compared to the last time Lu Cheng was here, this place was much livelier. Finally, it looked like a big sect. Of course, it would only last for 2 or 3 days. When they walked along the road and entered the sect, all the disciples stood respectfully when they saw Geezer Sure. Some called him martial uncle and some called him martial granduncle. Their expressions were full of fear and admiration. The incident of White Heaven and Earth, last time, had been spread by the elders and disciples with exaggerated details. Geezer Sure had really become an immortal in the hearts of most of the juniors. Ahem. Geezer Sure cleared his throat and walked more arrogantly. It seemed that he was enjoying this kind of treatment very much. Lu Cheng held back his laughter and didn't say anything. The older his master was, the more similar his mentality was to his juniors. They walked all the way to the Ice God Palace. Sect leader Hei had been waiting for them with a group of elders and direct disciples. Hello, martial granduncle. Hello, 7th martial uncle. Hello, young martial uncle. In the greetings, Zhu Tai, Lei Fong, and the others no longer called Lu Cheng reluctantly. After Lu Cheng followed his master to worship the ancestral master, burned incense, and went to the Xiefeng Palace with everyone to take a seat, Mo Jingting, who was dressed very plainly, came to him and whispered, after watching the fight between you and Peng Liyun, senior brother Zhu and junior brother Lei are convinced by you. When they met recently, the focus of their discussion was the National University Martial Arts Competition in April. They were talking about Peng Liyun from Shangqing, Renli from Kongtong, and Chaoyang and Zhen Huanxing from Xinghai, and you, young martial uncle from Wuxia Club and Ice God Sect. Who will take the lead? I'm looking forward to it. 5 geniuses of 6th pin under the age of 22, and maybe even inhuman. This is probably the most anticipated competition besides the top professional competitions and the 5 major title competitions. After hearing Mo Jingting's words, Lu Cheng was also looking forward to it. He even felt his blood boiling. In April he would fight with Peng Liyun, Renli, and Chaoyang Zhen Huanxing, and Li Xiaoyuan, who represented different big forces, to fight for the only championship. They even bet a lot of money on it, Mo Jingting added. It sounds like you're in it too? Lu Cheng didn't ask who they favored. If it were him, he would also bet on Peng Liyun or Renli. How dare I? Young martial uncle, you, Peng Liyun and Renli are all monsters. How can a normal person like me tell the difference between monsters? Mo Jingting chuckled. But I still bet 100,000 yuan on you, young martial uncle. After all, we're on the side of reason. It's not right to help people? It's not right to say that I can't win. Lu Qing laughed. Mo Jingting was speechless for a moment. After a while she smiled sweetly. Young martial uncle, you're so humorous. Why didn't you talk to me like this before? Well, you sincerely treat me as your young martial uncle. Of course I'm humorous. Lu Qing put his hands in his pockets and smiled leisurely. Mo Jingting was silent for a while. Then she sighed. Young martial uncle, are you really only 19 years old? I'm 20. Thank you. While speaking, Lu Qing's mind had drifted to April, to the National University Martial Arts Competition. Who will be the hero when they are young? While yearning and looking forward to it, Lu Qing didn't forget that his foundation was not solid enough. If he wanted to compete with Peng Leyun and the others, he still needed to go a long way. While Lu Qing was worshipping the ancestors in the Ice God sect, the Lu family also welcomed guests. In Lining City, there was a custom of not visiting relatives on the first day of the new year, so Lu Jilin and his son came to Xiushan to visit. Lu Debong was very happy about this. He invited the whole family of his eldest son, Lu Jisheng, and youngest daughter, Lu Jixin, and set up a big table. As soon as Erzi entered the door, he looked left and right, but when the banquet started, he still didn't see Lu Qing. He suddenly had doubts in his heart, so he deliberately changed the topic. Our generation should have the character Yuan, but many people don't care about this. Yes, you're called Yuan Chang and he's Yan Wei. Both of you are in the Yuan generation, Lu Debong said with a smile. We don't care about it when it comes to Qing. In that case, should Qing be called Lu Yuanqing? Lu Yanwei said with interest. Ma Shi interrupted, no, it's more appropriate to call him Lu Yuanba. This made everyone laugh. Erzi and Lu Yuanchang seized the opportunity and asked, Qing? He's not here, right? He went to Wuyue to pay a New Year's visit to his master and burn incense for his ancestors, Qi Fang answered proudly. He went to Wuyue. Erzi looked at his father and felt disappointed. After the banquet at noon, Geezer Shi found Lu Qing and smiled. Your martial uncle sect leader asked if you want to take a task. What task? Lu Qing asked carefully. Go to Haishi sect, Dinghai sect, and Hanqi sect to pay a New Year's visit on behalf of the Ice God sect. Geezer Shi smiled kindly. Chapter 361. Lu Qing was taken aback by his master's unusual smile. You don't want me to challenge them, do you? What are you thinking about? Geezer Shi scolded him with a smile. Haishi, Dinghai, and Hani don't have any physical invulnerability experts. You're just a 6th-pin fighter. No, you haven't even gotten a 6th-pin certificate. How can you challenge them? Are you tired of living? Lu Qing didn't let down his guard. He said carefully, I'm talking about the competition between the younger generation. Geezer Shi gave him a you're thinking too much look. You've been compared to Peng Leyun and Renli. Who do you think is at the same level as you in the Wuyue Club? The youngest inhuman expert is already 25 years old, 5 years older than you. It's okay to meet you in the official competition, but don't you think it's shameful to challenge you on a regular basis? Even Peng Leyun would lose in this kind of competition. As for the younger 6th-pin fighters, the youngest one is 23 years old. Not to mention that he has practiced martial arts for a few years longer than you, he might not be able to suppress you in strength. If he challenges you, he won't be proud, but if he loses, he'll be humiliated. Who would be so stupid to do such a thing? And you can't be so arrogant as to propose a competition with other kids, right? You're right. Lu Qing nodded. Then why did you ask me to pay a New Year's visit? Is it just a simple New Year's greeting? Geezer Shi laughed. It's not that simple. Think about it. You're the only fighter in the younger generation who can compete with Peng Leyun and Renli. If you stand there, you'll make our sect proud, right? You don't even need to do anything. The boys and girls from other sects will feel ashamed. So you're using me as a tool to show off. Lu Qing suddenly realized. What if the young disciples from other sects are impulsive and challenge me? Are you afraid? Geezer Shi stared at him. No. A smile appeared on Lu Qing's face. He pondered for a while and asked, But why are you smiling so strangely, master? He was so amiable. He couldn't help but feel scared. He always suspected that something was waiting for him. That's how I always smile. Geezer Shi didn't admit it. Lu Qing looked at him doubtfully, showing his disbelief. Geezer Shi let out a "ha" and poured out 2 drops of wine into his mouth. He moistened his throat and said, If you want to represent the Wuyue Club's part of the top competition, you might be excluded. In that case, you can consider Longhu and Shushan study. Haha, a man's ambition is to travel far and wide. Geezer sure made up some nonsense to get the topic back on track. Are you going or not? Go ahead. I want to meet Gun King and the clown face to face, Lu Qing answered expectantly. Gu Jianxi doesn't usually appear in such crowded places. As for Huang Ku, he can't do anything. What's the point of meeting him? Geezer sure refuted his disciple's words out of habit. Okay, I'll go back to your master. You take the invitation and go by yourself tomorrow. Okay. After agreeing, Lu Qing walked out of the Xiefeng Palace and saw Mo Jingting waiting for him at the side. Junior Marshal Ant, let's go karaoke together tonight. Senior Marshal Brother Zhu and Junior Marshal Brother Lei will all be there. We'll celebrate your birthday and let you experience my iron lung singing voice without any voice modification. Another day. I have something important to do tonight. Lu Qing thought for a while. Something important? Mo Jingting rolled her eyes. Okay, I'll ask you out later. The important thing was that he had to spend his birthday with someone important. Lu Qing ate the birthday cake prepared by his senior sister and practiced the Ice Sect's 12th move, North Wind, 17th move, Polar Ground, and 28th move, Frost. As for the Fire Sect's simplified implosion of physical invulnerability, Geezer sure didn't bring it because it wasn't appropriate to practice it in the Ice God sect. He planned to practice it after they went down the mountain. After finishing these, Lu Qing called his mother, Qi Fang. After chatting for a while, he turned on his computer and video called Yan Zhika to spend his birthday together. The girl was wearing a white bear-style pajamas. Her hair was just washed and dried, dark and glossy. Her face was rosy and tender. In front of her was a small cake with 2 candles on it. The dim flames were swaying gently. After Ku hummed the birthday song, Lu Qing chuckled. I think the 20th birthday is a good sign. Look, there are 2 candles in pairs. It was a custom in Xioshan to use a thick candle to represent the whole 10th birthday. Yan Zhika pursed her lips into a smile and complained as if she had been led astray by her boyfriend. Then wouldn't your 30th birthday be terrible? The 3 candles were like 3 sticks of incense. As soon as she finished speaking, she spat twice. Children's words carry no harm. Just use a candle with a 3 and a 0 on it. When you said that, I didn't realize it. I thought 3 candles on my 30th birthday would be terrible. Isn't it a symbol of a family of 3? Lu Qing chuckled. A family of 3. Yan Zhika turned her head and looked to the side. Okay, make a wish. I'll help you blow out the candles. You said it yourself. I'll celebrate your birthday with you. Make a wish. Lu Qing closed his eyes and earnestly looked forward to the future. First, he wished that his loved one would be healthy and have a smooth life. Second, he wished that he could go further and more steadily on his martial arts path. Third, he wished that he and Ku would love each other for life and grow old together. From now on, he would repeat these 3 wishes every birthday. It wasn't to move the heavens, but to remind himself to cherish the people around him and not forget his original intentions. I've made a wish. He opened his eyes and smiled. What did you wish for? Yan Zhika asked curiously. About the same as you. Didn't you say it wouldn't come true if I said it out loud? Lu Qing chuckled. Stingy. Yan Zhika snorted with a smile. She opened her pink lips, exhaled, and blew out the 2 candles. Then she picked up a plastic spoon, scooped a piece of cream and laughed. Qing, happy birthday. I'll eat your share of the cake for you. Be careful not to get fat if you eat alone. Lu Qing smiled. So what if I get fat? Yan Zhika wrinkled her pretty nose. It's good to be fat. It's more comfortable to hug and feel better when you're chubby. Lu Qing snickered. Pervert. Yan Zhika opened her eyes and said with a smile. Before Lu Qing said anything, she looked up and asked curiously and hesitantly, Qing, let me ask you a question. Don't laugh at me. What question? I promise I won't laugh. Lu Qing tried to look serious. That's, every time you can't help it, do you take a cold shower to cool down or something? Yan Zhika stuttered and asked with a blush on her cheeks. Dirty Tom was always talking about such things. He had been curious for a long time. Lu Qing almost burst out laughing. He quickly maintained his expression and pretended not to understand. What do you mean? That's. Yan Zhika suddenly gritted her teeth and blurted out, that's what you guys call masturbation. After that, she saw Lu Qing's half-smile. She was so embarrassed that her face turned red. She turned her head and looked away. I'm going to ignore you. Well, both. Sometimes it's a cold shower. Sometimes it's something else. Lu Qing answered with a smile. Yan Zhika was silent for a few seconds. She pursed her lips and stole a glance at Lu Cheng. "What are you laughing at?" she said bitterly. "I'm not laughing. I just think that the communication between boyfriends and girlfriends will gradually involve such things. It's pretty good." Lu Qing was still smiling. Since his little fairy took the initiative to ask, he could guide them step by step in the future. Yan Zhika looked to the side again. Her face was still red. The next morning, Lu Qing, who had finished his training, took the visiting card and got into the car of the Ice God sect. He was the first to arrive at the Haishi Gate. Haishi Gate was located on the shore of the famous lake in Mozhang. It was surrounded by beautiful scenery, and the house prices were very high. As Lu Qing stepped through the gate, he saw many young disciples secretly sizing him up from the corner of his eye. Some were feeling inferior, some were depressed, some were sighing, some were admiring, some were indignant, and some looked sullen. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. He came to the Ocean Tide Hall and was led in by a disciple at the door. Junior Lu Cheng of the Ice God sect greets sect leader Chen and Senior Huang. Lu Qing didn't look at them carefully. He bowed first and said a few auspicious words. Chen Bailing, the sect leader of the Haishi Gate, smiled and said, "Martial nephew Lu, I've heard about your reputation for a long time." Lu Qing raised his head and saw that Chen Bailing's hair and beard were sparse, with a tinge of yellow in his white hair. He was wearing an ancient costume and was about the same age as Lu Cheng's martial uncle sect leader. Beside him was the Spear King Huang Ku, who looked like a dull man in his 30s. He had a broad forehead and deep eyes. Lu Qing felt a chill in his bones just by looking at him. "Senior, you flatter me." Lu Qing handed over the visiting card. Chen Bailing held the visiting card and stroked its surface. He smiled and said, "I was thinking that old he would most likely send you to pay a New Year's visit this year. Sure enough, I guessed right. This is a good thing. As a martial artist, other than your own internal cultivation, you do need some external stimulation." As he spoke, he looked at Zheng Yu, Chen Qiyue and other young disciples as if to say, "Look, the stimulation is coming. Why don't you practice martial arts and try to catch up with him?" Zheng Yu and Chen Qiyue nodded and clenched their fists. They seemed to be more motivated. Damn, this senior is so direct and calm. How can I answer? Lu Qing pretended to be stupid and smiled. "Senior, you're right. Will the young disciples of the Haishi Gate be stimulated by Senior Chen's words and jump out to challenge me?" He was a little worried. After a few more words of greeting, Chen Bailing told Zheng Yu to go to the Ice God sect in the afternoon. Then he waved his sleeves and sent the guests away with tea, indicating that Lu Qing could leave. When he turned around and walked out, Lu Qing felt that Chen Qiyue and others seemed to be eager to have a try. But in the end they restrained themselves and didn't come out. When he was outside and felt the warm winter sun, he suddenly sighed and felt a little disappointed. The young generation of the Haishi Gate didn't even have the courage to stand out and challenge me. Chapter 362. After that, Lu Qing went to Dinghai sect and Hanqi sect. Unsurprisingly, he didn't see Clown Gu Jianxi. As for the younger generation, they were slightly weaker than Haishimen, so none of them impulsively came out to challenge him. After returning to Yambing Mountain, he reported everything to martial uncle sect leader He Yi. The young people of these sects are very calm. Yi shook his head and smiled. "That's a good thing. You've messed up the internal situation of the Wuxia Club and stimulated everyone to work harder." What he meant was that Zheng Yu, Lei Fang, Chen Qiyue, and the others had all entered the sect when they were in their teens. Their peers had watched them grow day by day and had long been used to falling behind. They had also slowly become arrogant. It was only when Lu Qing descended from the heavens and entered this situation that they broke the inherent understanding and stirred up various emotions among the disciples. "Well, Uncle Master knows about the catfish effect." Lu Qing didn't continue the conversation. He left and went down the mountain with his master and returned to Shi Yuejian's villa. At this point, Geezer Shi took out a visualization diagram. There was a fiery red and unusually heavy sun on it. With just a glance, Lu Qing felt the heat flow that symbolized the power of blaze in his body surging, being absorbed and being compressed. Internal explosion is harder to master than severe warning. First, you have to visualize this red sun, and then control it with the Zhurong diagram. Then, you have to coordinate the strength of your attacks. You have to be very careful when you practice. It's not a fun thing to have an explosion in your body. Geezer Shi rarely explained in such detail. When you've fully mastered it, I'll teach you the 10th and 11th moves of the Ice Sect, which are simplified physical invulnerability moves. Of course it'll take half a year. Okay. Lu Qing took the red sun diagram happily. Seeing this, Geezer sure said, "Don't be so careful. Just do it casually. If it's lost or broken, it's their fault." "I'm not such a stingy person." Lu Cheng's mouth twitched a little. "It's no fun to vent your anger on an object. Mo Jingting, Zhu Tai, and Lei Fang didn't invite him because they had to go back home for the new year." On the third day, Lu Qing said goodbye to his master and family and started his journey back to Xioshan. The next day, Yan Zhika and his parents flew to Jiangnan province to celebrate the new year with the Ji family. In Jiangnan province, the Ji family's ancestral home, at a family banquet. Yan Zhika, who was well liked by the elders and was constantly asked about her well-being, glanced at her grandfather Ji Jianzhang and her grandmother Dou Ning. She plucked up her courage and pretended that nothing had happened. "Grandpa, someone from our martial arts club has mastered the swordsman formula, army formula, and forwarding formula of the 9 words formula. She wanted to use this to open up the topic and gradually lead to the related content of Shushan Study's 9 words formula. The reason why she said it in front of everyone was to appear calm and to appear as if it was just a casual mention, so as not to arouse the suspicion of the old man. As soon as her voice fell, she felt the Empress Dowager put down her chopsticks and looked up, sizing her up with a smile that was not a smile. It made me feel a little guilty. Ji Jinzhang's hair was thick and black, except for some gray hair on his temples. His face was lean and he had an otherworldly aura. Hearing this, he tapped his chopsticks and said with a smile, "I know Lu Cheng." Yan Zhika almost choked on her own saliva. Grandpa actually knew Cheng. Did I overreach myself? Realizing that she had lost her composure, she took the opportunity to pretend to be surprised. "Grandpa, you've been following our competition?" As she spoke, she found the Empress Dowager's smile turned wider, full of gloating. Beside her, her cousin Lin Kei also had a slight smile on his face. "Humph, brother, what happened to being cold and reticent and silent? How dare you laugh at me?" Under the confused gazes of Yan Kai, Ji Lingxi, and the others, Ji Jinzhang shook his head with a smile and said, "This young man has become very famous recently. When I go back to the sect, there are always people talking about him in my ear, saying that he is a genius who can stand shoulder to shoulder with Peng Leiyun. As for your competition with you and your brother there, I will occasionally watch." The headquarters of Shushan Study was in Jiazhou. As a native of Jiangnan province, Ji Jianzhang had been sent here to guard the eastern base for decades. Phew. Yan Zhika quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Just as she was about to speak, she heard her grandma Dou Ning ask with a smile, "I also hear Lu Cheng's name from time to time. You and your brother are both members of Songqing University Martial Arts Club. What do you think of him?" Dou Ning looked to be in her 40s. Her hair was tied up in a bun, and her temperament was graceful. Her facial features were somewhat similar to Ji Mingyu and Yan Zhika's. But when she looked around, she really had the divine light of lightning. She had the demeanor of a master. "Granny, why do you ask?" Yan Zhika blinked her eyes and acted cute. "How can I answer this? How embarrassing would it be if I praised him so much?" Because she had to travel between Jiangnan and Xioshan when she was young, and there were several northerners in her family, she was confused with the way she addressed her elders. She no longer used the combination of grandpa and grandma but grandpa and grandma. When she started studying, it had become a habit and she was too lazy to change it. "I'm just asking." "Is it hard to answer? Just say what you want to say." Dou Ning said with interest, "You too tell me." She was looking at Lin Kei and Yan Zhika, not including Ji Lingxi and Ji Dian. Feeling Empress Dowager's gloating gaze and her father's interested gaze, Yan Zhika looked up and tried not to look so gentle and sweet. She pursed her lips and said with a smile, "He's a very talented and hard-working person. Well, he's also very nice." "Very, very nice." At this moment, Lin Kei spoke up in a timely manner, attracting everyone's attention. "Very good, very good." His words were concise and comprehensive, but it made everyone more curious about Lu Cheng. When did our Ice Prince praise other martial artists of the same generation like this? Yan Zhika listened with gratitude and pride. She was proud that her cousin had such a high opinion of Cheng, and grateful that he helped to divert the attention of her relatives. Not bad. It's good to have such a teammate just like the Dragon King and the Warrior Sage. Only by encouraging and chasing each other can we achieve our current achievements. Ji Jianzhang nodded with satisfaction. Over the past year, thanks to this, you've improved faster than I expected. Now you have the strength of a professional 7th pin, and there are signs of the genetic mutation of your root pulp. Practice hard but don't be impatient. Being slow doesn't mean you can't go far. After seeing Lin Kei nod slightly, he turned to look at his favorite granddaughter and said, "Ku, why did you mention Lu Cheng?" Oh. Yen Zhika almost choked on her own wine. She quickly replied, "Grandpa, I didn't want to mention Lu Cheng. My focus is on the 9 words formula, the 9 words formula. Didn't Shushan study collect many things related to the 9 words formula? Why haven't I seen anyone master it?" Ji Jianzhang rubbed the wine glass and sighed. Since the 9 words formula flourished until now, there have been too many wars. Many ancient books and objects have been seriously damaged. The illustrations of the 9 words formula in the sect have long lost their essence and charm. Only the ancient sounds and seals are relatively complete. What a pity. Yen Zhika sighed from the bottom of her heart. Yes, but we don't feel inferior to the ancients. If the seniors can create the 9 words formula, can't we restore it? In recent generations, there have been people in the sect trying to figure out the meaning of the words based on the sounds, body, and ancient books. Ji Jianzhang's tone was calm, but it contained a sense of ambition. Under the curious gazes of the crowd, Yen Zhika asked with concern, "Have they made any progress?" "I'm not sure about that. I'm not in charge." Ji Jianzhang smiled. "It seems that the key is still missing." "Grandpa, can I have a look at the notes?" Yen Zhika asked tentatively. Ji Jianzhang thought for a moment and said, "If there is no substantial progress in the reverse analysis, it's okay to let you have a look. But if it's close to success, you can only look at the notes of the predecessors. Haha, maybe you'll have a flash of inspiration and come up with something by chance, right?" Yes. Yen Zhika answered happily. If she could show it to herself, it wouldn't be a secret of the sect. It would be fine as long as it wasn't leaked. But if she showed it to Cheng, would it be leaked? Maybe Cheng really figured out something and she could make a contribution to the sect. In her excitement, she glanced at her mother, Ji Mingyu, from the corner of her eye. She saw the Empress Dowager's disdainful expression. Chapter 363. On the 8th day of the new year, Lu Qing happily changed his training location and came to Backwater Lake. Yen Zhika came back from Jiangnan province yesterday. In the early morning mist, not long after he sent the message, he saw the girl wearing a white martial arts suit with her hair tied up in a ponytail, jogging out of the villa district. Their eyes met, full of warmth. One after the other, they turned into a fork in the road and approached the familiar place. Lu Qing quickened his pace and soon stood shoulder to shoulder with Yen Zhika. He breathed in the fragrance that calmed his mind. "Cheng, let me show you something." Yen Zhika raised her chin slightly when they arrived at the usual place. Her eyes lit up as she shook the bag in her hand. "No hurry." Lu Qing chuckled. Seeing that it was still dark and there was no one around, he pulled the girl over and held her in his arms. "You." Yen Zhika's eyes widened and her protest was stopped in her mouth. After a long time she pushed Lu Qing away. She brushed her messy hair and said, "I'm talking about something serious." "Something serious? That's more important." Lu Qing chuckled. "Umph." Yen Zhika pouted and turned her head. She happily passed the bag in her hand to him. "Here for you." "The 9 words formula?" Lu Qing had guessed. "Yes. My grandpa called Shushan study and asked someone to send it to Jiangnan." Yen Zhika had a praise-me expression on her face. She didn't say she could get it so quickly because she wanted to give her boyfriend a surprise. "Coach Yen, you're so nice." Lu Qing was really happy, but it was more because he was touched than surprised. He opened the bag and flipped through it. He found not only the 9 words formula that had lost its essence and charm, but also the handprints and other body secrets. There were also the words and related notes written by several generations of Shushan study masters. Each of them had their own charm and characteristics. Of course, they were all wrong to give to Yen Zhika. For others, it would be very difficult to find the useful parts from the false. But for Lu Qing, it was a piece of cake for him to verify it with his Jin Dan. "How is it?" Yen Zhika pursed her lips and raised her head. "It's a serious matter. But didn't I say that it was a more important matter? We can't reverse the order." Lu Qing deliberately raised his eyebrows. "You are becoming more and more improper." Yen Zhika said angrily, but her eyes were overflowing with unconcealable joy. After completing the daily routine, Lu Qing glanced at the girl who was seriously practicing the meteor force. He took out a stack of notes from the bag, studied them carefully and tried to visualize them for trial and error. "Lin." He clasped his hands together to form a seal, and in his mind, he outlined the 19 different confrontation characters written by the seniors of Shushan study. He didn't specially complete the visualization. If he did, it wouldn't take a day or two. He just wanted to grasp a little of the charm and see if it could resonate with the Jindan. As the confrontation formula was uttered, the nebula at his lower abdomen continued to move slowly without any abnormalities. By the time Lu Qing eliminated the thick notes of the confrontation formula and the fighting formula, it was close to 8 o'clock. He stopped visualizing and left the backwater lake in another direction with Yen Zhika, who had finished her practice. They had a round of breakfast. Qing, don't be too anxious. You don't have to rush to return these notes. Wait for my grandpa to urge you. Yen Zhika comforted him at the entrance of the villa area. She had noticed that Lu Qing was already experimenting and was afraid that he would be too impatient and go astray. Don't worry. I have an affinity with the 9 words formula, Lu Qing joked. After returning home, he took a hot shower and continued his trial and error journey. He eliminated the meanings of the wholeness formula, formation formula, and decueing formula that the predecessors had reverse deduced. Although he didn't gain much, he wasn't disappointed. With the mistakes made by the seniors of Shushan study and the lessons learned, he could also reverse deduce along this path and seek the charm. However, that would take a few years or even longer. Taking out the last stack of notes, he composed himself and once again immersed himself in cultivation. Okay. The ancient sounds came from his mouth and his hand seals gradually became familiar. When Lu Qing tried the OK formula that Wu Qiao, the former head of Shushan study, had reverse deduced, the bright nebula in his body suddenly spun faster and rippled. In the ripples, the ice crystal and the sun joined together to form over 100 blurry ancient words, clustered around a large OK formula that was as swift as the wind. Got it? Lu Qing was overjoyed. Suppressing his excitement, he tried again and again, imprinting the essence and charm of the OK formula in the Jindan in his mind. He memorized the 100 ancient words one by one and added them to his notebook. The OK formula trained the legs internally and was used externally to increase speed. It was a match made in heaven with the north wind footwork that he had just learned. Not bad, not bad. He had mastered 4 of the 9 words formula. He was almost halfway there. The next morning by the backwater lake. How is it? Did you get any insights? Yen Zhika asked casually. Lu Qing cleared his throat, formed a hand seal, wriggled his abdomen, vibrated his vocal cords and exhaled. Before he could finish his sentence, he had already leaped out. The friction at high speed tore apart the airflow, stirring up the sound of wind and thunder in silence. He mastered the OK formula just like that. I just gave him the information yesterday. And it was just a summary of errors, not a specific method of practice. Yen Zhika was stunned. Her pink lips opened little by little, almost forming an O shape. Coach Yen also enjoyed the same treatment as Coach Shi. I only mastered the OK formula. I don't know the rest yet. It will take me a few years to master it, Lu Qing said modestly, chuckling. You and the 9 words formula are really fated. Yen Zhika came back to her senses at his words. She was half dazed and half amazed. She really wanted to bite Qing and see if he was still human. Noticing the girl's teeth-grinding expression, Lu Qing coughed and changed the subject. I'll see if I can imitate the charm of the attainment formula. That way you can practice it and take it back to Shushan study. If it works, I'd like to exchange the attainment formula for my master's approval. I'll teach you the swordsman formula. It'll be very beneficial for your body. Yen Zhika listened to his long-winded speech. The surprise in her eyes faded and was replaced by a bright light. Okay. She answered with a faint smile. This time she didn't want to bite Qing. She wanted to kiss him. In the next few days Lu Qing bought ink, a brush and good paper. He wrote the attainment formula over and over again, trying to imprint the feeling of being as swift as the wind on the paper. He failed again and again, wasting stacks and stacks of paper. Before the end of the winter break he finally grasped the true meaning and method. He visualized and wrote at the same time. As he started to write, the attainment formula gradually formed. Suddenly, a wind blew in the room, blowing away the waste paper beside him. Lu Qing put away the brush and stared at the end of the paper. He saw an ancient attainment formula as if formed by the wind. My understanding is still lacking. I'm afraid it's only 1/10 of the real attainment formula. But it's enough for Ku to get started. He sighed and glanced at the calendar. There were only 2 days left before the leisurely end of the winter break. But before that there was still something he had to do. The next afternoon, with the help of Xing Qingwu and Director Xing, he went to the prison 100 kilometers away and met Wang Su in the reception room. Wang Su was wearing a gray prison uniform. He was bald and had shallow scars on his cheeks. His expression was sentimental. "How are you? Are you okay?" Lu Qing asked first. "It's pretty good. Director Xing has already spoken to them. The few bosses in the prison take good care of me. No one bullies me." Wang Su answered very happily. He had seen how the prison bullies dealt with other people. At this point, Wang Su recalled the past and smiled bitterly. "I regret not listening to you. If I had left Lu and the rest earlier, I might have bought a house and gotten married by now. If you behave well, you might be released before I graduate. You'll still be young then. You can do whatever you want." Lu Qing comforted him. "Okay." Wang Su took a deep breath and nodded. The two didn't have much in common. Lu Qing talked about the neighborhood for a while and was about to leave. Before he left, he asked with concern, "You don't look well. You don't look so good. There are dark circles under your eyes. Are you sick?" "No, I just can't sleep well. I keep thinking about what happened that day and have nightmares." Wang Su's eyes were still filled with the fear of that day. "You can sleep well with sleeping pills. You can't sleep without them." Lu Qing pondered for a while, then turned to the guard beside him and asked, "Do you have ink, paper, and a pen? If not, ink and paper will do." The guard didn't refuse and said enthusiastically, "I'll get someone to look for it." "What are you going to write?" Wang Su asked, puzzled. "I'm going to draw a talisman for you." Lu Qing replied half-jokingly. Wang Su was even more puzzled. After a while, another police officer came over with ink and a piece of white paper. Lu Qing unfolded the paper and dipped his finger in the ink. Then he closed his eyes and sketched in his mind the ancient character that suppressed negative emotions. Using his finger as a brush, he danced like a dragon and a phoenix. An ancient character for Qian appeared before Wang Su's eyes. "Hang it in your cell and look at it for 5 minutes before you sleep." Lu Qing wiped his finger with the rest of the paper. Will it work? Although Wang Su felt that the character was very reassuring, he couldn't believe that a Taoist could draw a talisman. "There's no harm in trying." Lu Qing replied with a smile. "That's true." Wang Su nodded. At night, Wang Su hung the Qian character on his bed and looked at it carefully for 10 minutes before he fell asleep. The next morning, when the first ray of light shone into the cell, he opened his eyes and woke up naturally. He felt refreshed. It really wasn't a dream. Wang Su sat up in shock and stared at the Qian character on his bed. He felt that it was mysterious and powerful. Chapter 364. On the 13th day of the first lunar month, Lu Qing carried his luggage and said goodbye to his parents. Once again he embarked on his journey to study and entered Xioshan's high-speed railway station. Just yesterday, Wu Qinggui's $700,000 endorsement fee had arrived. The specially designed martial arts shoes would be sent out in March for Lu Qing to try on and make the final adjustments. As soon as Lu Qing received the endorsement fee, he went to the bank and transferred $150,000 to his mother, Qi Fang, for her renovation expenses. She was so scared that she thought there was something wrong with the banking system. She almost called the police. When she heard the phone call, she realized what had happened. She happily scolded her son and didn't reject him anymore. Instead, she publicized Lu Qing's great achievements in the community, making him a real, other people's child, and creating a nightmare for the younger generation in the community. Hey, what a coincidence. At the ticket gate, Yanjika dragged her suitcase and pretended to meet Lu Qing by chance. She patted Lu Qing's shoulder sweetly with her dimples. What a coincidence. You're going to Songqing too. Lu Qing showed his exaggerated acting skills. He took the girl's suitcase and hugged her waist. Bad acting. Yanjika looked up at the sky and made a comment. They no longer had to worry about the existence of their parents. The two of them were like wild horses out of control, feeling freedom and happiness. After checking the tickets, they entered the high-speed railway. Lu Qing put the suitcase on the seat and sat next to the girl. He asked, "How's your attainment formula and swordsman formula going?" He called his master and got a positive answer. He could exchange the attainment formula for the swordsman formula. Geyser also hinted that it was okay to teach his wife more things. After all, those guys came to him without his permission and put her through a tough test. I'm getting a feel for it. Yanjika looked at Lu Qing and joked, "Are you looking for a sense of superiority? To show off that you've mastered it in one day?" She didn't tell her grandpa and grandma about the attainment formula yet. She planned to tell them before the national competition so as not to scare them. Some people really couldn't be measured by common sense. At the same time, she was also looking forward to one thing. The attainment formula was Cheng's compensation to Shushan's study, and her cousin could also learn it. What kind of changes would occur when the speed of meteor burst was combined with the attainment formula? You've wronged me, Coach Yen. I'm just concerned about you. I'll show off in front of anyone but you. Lu Qing replied with a smile. Yen Zhika snorted and turned to look out of the window. It's the nationals this semester. I'm so looking forward to it. Yes, I'm also so nervous. Me too, but I'm looking forward to tonight more. It's Valentine's Day, our first anniversary together. What kind of gift will you give me? This year, Songqing University officially opened on Monday, February 17th. However, in order to celebrate Valentine's Day and their anniversary together, the two of them lied about the military intelligence and left early. Of course, it couldn't be called a lie. Coming to school early to prepare for the nationals was a legitimate reason. I don't have any gifts. Yen Zhika rolled her eyes at Lu Cheng and suddenly burst into laughter. Does my period count? Cheng, I think you and my period are destined to be together. When we don't go home at night, we often run into each other. It can't be helped. You came on the 17th of last month. There are 31 days in January. It's just these few days. There's nothing wrong with it. Lu Cheng spread his hands helplessly and thought about the future. We'll miss the next time. So what? Yen Zhika puffed up her cheeks and leaned on Lu Cheng. She gave him one of her earphones and invited him to listen to music and watch TV series together. They arrived at Songqing at around 7 p.m. However, instead of going to the campus, they went to the five-star hotel that Lu Cheng had booked. Outside the window, it was already late at night. The neon lights were shining, but the room was as warm as spring. When Yen Zhika wasn't paying attention, Lu Cheng dialed the room number and pretended to be the front desk. I still need to go through some procedures. I'll go downstairs. He picked up the phone and said a few words. Yen Zhika didn't suspect anything. She rummaged for her pajamas and said in a light tone, "Come back quickly." Okay. Lu Cheng opened the door and went out to buy flowers. After leaving the hotel in order to save time, he didn't care about the price. He found a wandering flower seller on the street and bought a bunch of roses. Then he wrote a message to the girl and sent an email. Yen Zhika took a shower, changed into light pajamas and slippers. She went back to the bed and picked up her phone. Check the email. Lu Cheng's message said. Email? Yen Zhika was a little bit expectant. She opened the email app and saw the video from her boyfriend. After downloading, she changed her sitting position to make herself more comfortable. Then she chose to play the video. The camera shook for a while and finally fixed on Lu Cheng's familiar face. Every Valentine's Day is the anniversary of our relationship. I feel like you're missing a holiday. Facing the camera, Lu Cheng smiled shyly. It's good that you know. Yen Zhika replied silently. Lu Cheng cleared his throat, looked straight ahead and said, On this Valentine's Day, the anniversary of our relationship, I want to tell you a story about a boy chasing a girl. A boy secretly fell in love with a beautiful and kind girl when he was in high school. He saw her as his goddess. But at that time he felt a little inferior and didn't dare to chase after her. He didn't dare to try. He felt that he didn't deserve her and that he didn't have a chance. However, fate allowed them to enter the same university. The call of fate made the boy's heart restless. Yen Zhika listened quietly with a smile on her face. She probably knew what story Lu Cheng wanted to tell. How would he tell the story? She had some expectations. That day he saw the girl in a red and white Han costume standing in front of the martial arts arena. The boy was amazed again. Encouraged by fate, he finally plucked up the courage to walk over and strike up a conversation with her. In order to make himself less nervous, he ran a big circle and was so tired that he was out of breath. It was natural that he blushed and stuttered. In the video, Lu Cheng's face was slightly red as he recalled. There was such a thing. Yen Zhika opened her mouth slightly, surprised and happy. Recalling the scene and hearing the story behind it, she couldn't help but curse in her heart. Idiot Cheng, he even ran a big circle. Stupid. At this moment, a beautiful melody sounded in the video and the background changed. A picture appeared and occupied the screen. It was the beautiful girl in Han costume at the entrance of the martial arts arena. Ah. Yen Zhika covered her mouth with her hand. Why does Cheng have a picture of me at that time? Didn't he say that he was too nervous and forgot to take a picture? The girl was very friendly. Her personality was better than what the boy imagined. They talked very well. He was thick-skinned and asked for her QQ number. From then on he started an unbelievable dream life. He restrained himself and only talked with the girl for a while each time so that she wouldn't feel annoyed and think that he was pestering her. As time went by, they became more familiar with each other and talked more and more. He was surprised to find that the girl was very cute in private. The background music was melodious. Emojis popped up one after another. Some were staring blankly, some were sitting obediently, and some were holding their chins with their hands. Yenjika almost burst out laughing. This video was made very seriously. She thought happily. On the girl's birthday, the boy didn't dare to do too much. He was afraid that he would scare off the little fairy if he was too enthusiastic and proactive. So he went to Yenling to participate in the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament with this kind of mentality. In this challenge tournament, he found more common interest with the girl and let her participate in his life. It was also in this challenge tournament that he heard the first cheer in his martial arts career. It was from the girl. The voice telling the story stopped, and a soft female voice that Yenjika was very familiar with suddenly rang out in the video. Lu Qing. Lu Qing. Go Lu Qing. This? Yenjika covered her mouth again and turned her head to look to the side in surprise. Qing still had the voice message from that time? The cheer from the girl he secretly loved, the first cheer in the challenge tournament, filled the boy with motivation and courage. He defeated strong opponents one after another and made it to the group stage. And the girl went one step further and sang a cheer for him after his repeated pleas. In the background music, the clear voice just now started humming a melody that made people's blood boil. Keep running with the pride of a newborn. How can you see the brilliance of life if you don't persevere to the end instead of dragging out your last breath? Why not burn to your heart's content? He kept them all. Yenjika let out a sigh, her eyes shining brightly. For the boy, these are all memories that are worth remembering for a lifetime. He kept the voice message, the chat history, and the beautiful moments they spent together. He hid them in different places. He wanted to sit in the rocking chair and slowly recall them for the girl when his hair turned white. After that, many photos and screenshots of their conversations appeared on the screen. Lu Qing's voice guided Yenjika back to the past, reliving the beautiful feelings of the past year. On New Year's Eve, the two of them held their phones, quietly listening to each other's breathing and welcoming the new year. In the early hours of his birthday, the girl called and sang a song of blessing. On Valentine's Day, under the moonlight, the sentence, "Let me be happy for 5 minutes," was exchanged for a screen full of fireworks. The details before the first date, the feelings of wanting to hold hands on the first date, and the walk in the clouds, when they were lost and didn't know where to go when they held hands for the first time, the efforts made for the first kiss, the exciting and beautiful contact of lips and tongues by the lake, the misunderstanding and conflict caused by too much eagerness and desire, the feeling of being an old married couple when they woke up in the morning, the solemnity and holiness when they gave each other rings, and the teasing when he called her wife. The past reappeared. Yenjika's eyes reddened and she fell into a daydream. It seemed that she once again experienced the scene of Lu Qing taking off her clothes under the bright sun on the bed. Once again she experienced the beautiful moment when he touched her. There were too many of these and the video didn't show them at all. Idiot, how can you only remember the things I did for you and forget the things you did for me? It's Valentine's Day again. I want to give this story to you. I hope that the boy and the girl have new stories every year and I can tell you like this every year. Lu Qing's low voice echoed in Yenjika's ears and into her heart. Yenjika saved the video. She wanted to learn from Lu Qing and record the past. At this time she pursed her lips, hiding her smile and tears, and sent an audio file she prepared earlier to Lu Qing. Outside the door, Lu Qing held the flowers and silently counted the time. He planned to enter the video at the end and give the flowers to Yenjika when she was most touched. Just then his phone rang and he saw the voice message from the girl. Lu Qing put the phone to his ear, puzzled and expectant. Qing, I've been thinking about what to give you for Valentine's Day. After thinking for a long time, I finally decided to give you an answer. Yenjika's soft and clear female voice sounded soft and low. Do you still remember this day last year? You confessed to me that you liked Yenjika, especially Yenjika. I was very happy but also very scared. I was very surprised and very scared. I hoped that you could wait for me to like you as much as you like me, wait for me to slowly accept the changes and accept the existence of one more person in my life. I remember many things about you, but I don't remember many of the words I said. I don't know if I have answered you before. Anyway, I want to tell you officially now. Qing, I like you, especially you. Yenjika's voice was soft and her emotions were exposed. Her unreserved expression hit Lu Qing's heart. Qing, I like you, especially you. He smiled, swiped the room card and pushed the door open with the flowers. After a good night, Lu Qing, who had spent a lot of effort to coax Yan Zhika again, returned to the new campus of Songqing University and saw Lin Ke, Li Mao, Kai Zongming and the others. During the first special training session of the semester, they gathered in a circle, covered their hands and shouted in unison, "National competition!" Chapter 365. National Competition. After everyone in the martial arts club shouted, Shu Rue signaled the cameraman to stop recording. She stood in front of the team, bowed slightly and said with a sentimental smile, "Thank you for your care and cooperation in the past few months. There are more than 40 days left, so I have to say goodbye. Our team wishes you all the best in the national competition." Shu Rue was an outstanding beauty. She was reliable, neither cold nor arrogant. Since the beginning of September, except for the holidays, she had come here every few days to film their daily lives. She was familiar with the members of the martial arts club and had made friends with them. Therefore, when they heard her words, they all expressed their reluctance to see her go and sighed with emotion. In such an atmosphere, the first special training of this semester began. Everyone held their breath and worked hard for the national competition. At the end of the training, Lu Qing saw Shu Rue interviewing his teammates one by one. He smiled at Yan Zhika beside him and said, "I'm suddenly looking forward to the program that reporter Shu is going to do." Looking at his smile, Yan Zhika suddenly remembered last night. She couldn't help but turn her head, purse her lips and snort in a low voice. "I finally mustered up the courage to take the initiative to satisfy your desire. How dare you, how dare you?" She was too embarrassed to think about it anymore. "What's wrong?" Lu Qing blurted out. Then he realized and wanted to slap himself. Of all things, he had touched a sore spot. I just feel that I'm not pure anymore." Yan Zhika wasn't angry, but she still felt ashamed and angry. After a while, she changed her attitude and decided not to talk about it anymore. She looked down at her feet and answered with a little sadness. When she went back to the dormitory this morning to put away her things, Dirty Tong's eyes made her unable to raise her head. She could only talk about it. "I think that girls who have been married or have had a boyfriend for more than a year can only be pure, relatively speaking." Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. "Yes, we have been dating for more than a year. A year and a day." Yan Zhika glared at him. Seeing Shu Rue approaching, she quickly changed the topic. "Qing, didn't you say that you were too excited to take a picture when you hit on me last time? Why was it in the video last night?" "When I was making the video, I felt that it was a pity that there wasn't a photo here. But I couldn't tell you in advance so that you could wear the Han costume and find a chance to take a photo. I thought about it and thought that my little fairy was so beautiful, so there must be someone who couldn't resist taking photos. So I asked one by one and finally got a photo from President Qin Zhanghua." Yan Zhika was suddenly enlightened. "All right. Senior brother Qin asked me to take a picture of it. He said it was a record for the martial arts club's activities." Her eyebrows gradually relaxed and a smile was hidden within. Once again she felt Lu Qing's intentions. After last night, for some reason she felt that she and Qing were closer than before. They had already touched so much of each other's private parts, and the privacy between them seemed to have decreased by a lot. At this time, Shu Rue moved over and began to interview Yan Zhika, focusing on her preparations for the national competition during the holidays. Lu Qing took 2 steps back and stood beside little Ming, not wanting to interfere. "Qing, I feel like I'm close to 9th pin now," Kai Zongming said in high spirits, mimicking the action of Hercules. Lu Qing looked him up and down and nodded with a smile. "Not bad. What's with the look and tone in your eyes?" Kai Zongming squinted at him. "Caring look and tone in my eyes." Lu Qing chuckled. He wouldn't say that it was the look and tone of a professional 6th pin fighter caring for a professional 9th pin fighter. "Caring for a retard?" Kai Zongming retorted unhappily. "That's what you said." "I didn't say that," Lu Qing replied. "Talker," actually made a slip of the tongue. Kai Zongming found that he was tricked. After a long time he squeezed out a word, "Get lost." Seeing that Lu Qing was having a hard time holding back his laughter, he decided to change the topic. "You came back in a hurry this morning. Did you do something bad last night?" Chang and old Chiu were deeply affected. "Double the damage on Valentine's Day. Am I not allowed to take the train at night?" Lu Qing asked, amused. "Yes, of course. Let me remind you as a senior. No matter whether there is a chance or not, you should be prepared first. Otherwise, you will be driven to the streets to find pharmacies, supermarkets and vending machines. Kai Zhongming showed an expression that he couldn't bear to look back on the past. Lu Cheng twitched his mouth and said, "Comrade Casanova, I found that your funny experience could be written into a book. Complete collection of single dog abuse?" Kai Zhongming understood him. When they were talking about the crosstalk, Xu Rui finished asking Yan Zhika and walked to Lin Quebec. She laughed and said, "I'm here to interview you again." "Yes." Lin K still had the same expressionless look. Xu Rui straightened her body and smiled sweetly, "That's right. Nice to meet you." Time flew by in such dull and repetitive days. In the blink of an eye, it was April 2nd, and the final round of the National University Martial Arts competitions would officially start on April 5th. At the school bus station of the new campus of Songqing University, Lu Qing was the first to arrive at the bus station with Yan Zhika in one hand and Yan Zhika's suitcase in the other. After a while, Lin K arrived, wearing a black shirt and a pair of loose dark jeans, with a light yellow suitcase in his left hand. "Ah." Lu Qing opened his mouth wide and asked his girlfriend in surprise, Your brother uses such a cute suitcase? You can't judge a book by its cover. Does my brother-in-law have a girl's heart?" Yan Zhika covered her mouth and snickered, "My brother is very casual in this aspect. He uses whatever my aunt buys for him. He is never picky. This suitcase used to be my aunt's. Okay." Lu Qing regretted his misunderstanding. He saw Kai Zhongming coming in with a handsome posture and Li Mao following behind him with a big bag taller than his head. Sun Jian, wearing sunglasses and carrying two people's luggage, appeared with Lin Hua in a plain white dress. On the other side, He took off her round glasses and cut off her long hair. She had a short and thin hairstyle which made her look cold and elegant. Yan Shaoling stood beside her and reminded her repeatedly, "Don't worry. Hey, I'm counting on you this time. You must send me the battle report from the front line as soon as possible." The list of people going to the capital consisted of 3 main forces, 6 substitutes, and 2 students, Li Xiaowen and Jiang Fuxing, who were in charge of chores. The others, including Yan Shaoling and Mu Jinyan, had to stay in school. At the bus station of Shanbei University, Su Wanyin and Fang Zhirong were chatting happily. He felt that as long as Fang Zhirong didn't lose his temper and wasn't provoked, he was easy to get along with, except that he liked to play pranks. After waiting for a long time, all the substitutes arrived and surrounded them. "Okay, get on the bus and go to the airport." Su Wanyin waved his hand. Mao Qingjun, the main force substitute, looked around and asked in confusion, "Are we missing one?" "The most important one is missing." Su Wanyin laughed and pointed to the bus. "Brother Peng has been here for a long time." Everyone looked over and saw Peng Leiyun sitting by the window. He was leaning back and his eyes were empty. No one knew what he was thinking. "Let's go." Su Wanyin boarded the bus. "Wahai." Xing Jingjing put down her luggage and boarded the bus. She saw Piao Yuan, who was tall and bald and had a fierce look, holding his mobile phone and taking selfies. Zhang Dongliang, who looked like an old farmer, was talking and laughing with several other substitutes. She looked to the left and saw An Chaoyang, who had short hair and was wearing professional headphones. He was listening to music quietly with his eyes closed. Xing Jingjing walked to the last row and chose to sit by the window. She was quite far away from everyone in front of her. Huaqing Guangnan. Li Xiaoyuan was tall and slender, handsome and elegant. Just by standing there he attracted a lot of attention. "That girl is not bad," he said with a smile. "Not bad." Shi Meng, who had a buzz cut, doubted his eyes again. "Her skin is so dark and she is so thin. I can't see anything good about her except that she is tall. Anyway, I think she is not bad." Li Xiaoyuan, who was disliked again and again, spread out his hands and said. Shi Meng decided not to say anything more. It was a good thing that Li Xiaoyuan had a special taste. Otherwise, he would have taken all the good resources. "Brother Jin hasn't arrived yet? It's almost time." Shi Meng changed the topic. Li Xiaoyuan looked in the direction of the martial arts stadium and said, "Brother Jin has been working hard in the past 6 months." Well, he was provoked. Many people said that he had a bad attitude and had used up his potential. He should thank God for being able to reach the high pin level in this life. Shi Meng said with emotion, and Lu Qing came out of nowhere and caught up with him so quickly. Brother Jin doesn't want to lose face in his senior year. While they were talking, they suddenly felt the ground tremble slightly. They turned around and saw Zhen Huanxing carrying a luggage bag and walking in the distance with heavy steps. His skin was bronze-colored and his facial features were well-defined. He wasn't handsome, but he was extremely manly. Every step he took was like a moving tank. However, the closer he got, the weaker the tremors under everyone's feet became. It was the exact opposite of a normal situation. "Let's go," Zhen Huanqing said in a low voice. Hadong University. Walking fat meat, Yu Ji glanced at Wu Yong, Han Peipei and the others. He squeezed through the door first, turned around and shouted, "Our goal this year is to reach the top 8. Top 8. Everyone in the martial arts club echoed in unison. Mingdao University. Because it was close to the capital, the three He brothers led a group of substitutes who were just going for a leisurely trip to the train station. "Do you want to shout a slogan or something?" He Feng looked around and asked. He Santai was playing Glory and said without raising his head, "Don't disturb me. Capital College Martial Arts Club." "Kongchan, where's the club president?" Xin Yu asked the cute girl with a round face. Senior sister said she was going to the city martial arts stadium to step on the ground. Jiang Kongchan answered innocently. Xin Yu suddenly became nervous. "You didn't send her there?" "I sent her to the subway station. Anyway, after taking the 4th line, she can reach the city martial arts stadium from any exit. She won't get lost, right? At such a distance she can just ask someone." Jiang Kongchan explained. "I hope so." Xin Yu was still worried. In the subway station on the waiting platform of the 4th line, Kaiyang Sect, City Martial Arts Stadium. Ren Li, with long straight hair, squinted her big eyes and looked at the name on the station sign. Kaiyang Sect. On the medium-sized passenger plane, Lu Qing asked Yan Zhika to sit next to the window. He held the girl's hand and looked into her eyes. He read the same excitement and expectation as he, Li Mao, Kai Zongming and the others. Yes, after a year and a half, he was finally going to participate in the national competition. The cabin door closed and the plane taxied. After a run-up, it soared into the sky with a whoosh. Chapter 366. April 3, 8 o'clock in the evening. Lying in bed, Yin Shaoling turned on the computer and posted on the forum while buffering the data. Set the table, set the table. Everyone don't miss it. I might be on camera tonight. Guess who's me? There's a difference between a real person and a photo. The program produced by Xu Rui and the others would be broadcasted on Songqing TV tonight. Although Yin Shaoling didn't join in the fun when watching the drawing of lots, it was inevitable that she would be filmed since she often participated in martial arts activities. As for whether it would be edited into the official version in the end, she wasn't sure. Tisk isn't the shortest one? Unparalleled Dragon King wouldn't let go of any opportunity to criticize Yin Shaoling. Yin Shaoling replied with a wronged expression. No QAQ, there are people shorter than me in the martial arts club. My new friend Qing Qing is shorter than me by 1 centimeter, and Xiao Hei is shorter than me by 2 centimeters, no 3 centimeters. You can't see the difference with the naked eye, right? Road to the Arena gave a critical hit. Criticizing Eternal Nightfall Yin Shaoling had become a regular activity in the Lu Qing fan forum. Even the Longhu Club forum next door often had people joining in. 2 centimeters. What a big difference. They all say that I look like a sister when I stand with them, as long as they don't talk QAQ. Yin Shaoling fiercely retorted, I don't want to talk to you anymore. The program is starting. Move a small stool and sit down, quietly watch the show, chin resting. Wonton Seller also wandered over from next door. Little Wonton, what do you think about the evening self-study? Brahman was shocked. Wonton Seller sent a sticky rice dumpling emoji. I caught a cold and asked for leave. Wait, where are the exercises we agreed on? I'm doing it while watching. Brahman said confidently. At this time, the scenery of Songqing University's new campus appeared on Yin Xiaoling's computer screen. Lakes, mountains, colorful buildings just like a garden. It's been many years since the Songqing University Martial Arts Club last entered the national competition. Now, they finally have the best opportunity. The appearance of two geniuses has lit up the light of hope. From this semester onwards, under the leadership of Lu Qing and Lin Ke, they will launch a strong attack on the national competition. We choose to follow them all the way and faithfully record. And when I was recording this video, I didn't know what the final result of Songqing University Martial Arts Club would be. With Xu Rui's documentary-like voice, the long lens changed from a distance to a shady road to the Songqing University Martial Arts Gym, filming the students entering one by one. Tap tap tap. Amidst the sound of the typewriter, the words Early September XXXX appeared on the screen. The color of the interior of the martial arts arena was soft. Several special training members who had arrived early were already warming up. The camera turned and aimed at the entrance. Coincidentally, a very familiar figure entered. "Hi Lu Qing. You're early." Xu Rui greeted him. Lu Qing didn't feel restrained. He faced the camera calmly and joked, "It's late. Reporter Xu, you're all here." Then he answered the goal of this martial arts competition by saying, "A soldier who doesn't want to be a general is not a good driver." Yan Zhika also appeared on camera without makeup and accepted the sudden shooting. In the end, the audience was amused by Lin Kei's cold humor, which boosted Xu Rui's voice. The camera recorded everything as it was. It showed the surprised expressions of the members of the special training group after they obtained the internal training method. It also showed everyone's daily hard work and joking, which made the audience calm down. It was as if they were also in that kind of environment, following the members of the Songqing University Martial Arts Club to the final circle of the National University Martial Arts Competition step by step. Because it was real, it was emotional. This was the charm of a documentary. Yan Xiaoling, who was chatting in the BBS, unconsciously put down her phone and focused on the computer. After seeing the special training, Lin Kei took the initiative to challenge Lu Qing, but regretted that there was no live recording. She saw the reactions of Lu Qing and the others when the first lot was drawn. She saw the cat reporter, He Zi, who was hiding in the corner and sending the frontline battle report. Tut-tut, she even cut the scene where Lu Qing and the senior sister looked at each other. Was she bribed or threatened? Yan Xiaoling laughed inexplicably. Then she saw the scene before the first match of the martial arts club, when the audience shouted, "Here we come," in unison. She saw the scene inside the locker room, which was very mysterious to her, clearly presented in front of her eyes. She saw Lu Qing carefully applying ointment to heal the swelling and bruises. She saw Lin Kei drying his wet short hair and coming out of the bathroom. She saw Yan Zhika, who everyone thought was more beautiful than a star, waiting at the canteen window like thousands of other people in the university, leaving with a plate of stir-fry. She saw Lu Qing as one of the candidates for the Heavenly Son of China, munching on a steamed bun and drinking soy milk, as ordinary as everyone around him. In the bright classroom focused on learning and unchanged special training, Li Mao, Sun Jian, Kai Zhongming, and the others respectively appeared on camera, showing the real life and the eagerness of the members of the martial arts club for the national competition. They smoothly advanced in the group stage and easily defeated their opponents in the quarterfinals. During this process, many unknown details were cleverly connected in a clever way, making the audience see Lu Qing, Lin Kei, and the others from a new perspective. For example, after the supernatural ability of misfortune rebound, everyone was subconsciously afraid of Lu Qing and wanted to avoid him. The first 4 matches were confirmed. The result of the first match against Shanbei made Li Mao and the others exclaim, while the expectation, excitement and nervousness in Lu Qing and Lin Kei's eyes were also faintly pointed out. The first highlight of the program appeared in the away match against Shanbei. The camera shared with the audience the fact that Lu Qing got up at 5:30 every day to practice in real time, perfectly depicting the unspeakable tension between him and Peng Liyun on the playground and the accidental encounter between him and Peng Liyun. Interspersed with the scenes of intense matches were the audience's depressed and painful expressions, Geezer Sher's encouraging speech the next day, Lu Qing and the others' increasingly serious training, and Songqing University students spontaneously gathered on the weekend to cheer for the martial arts club with the slogan, "Keep up the good work." After crushing the 2 martial arts clubs, Sanjiang and Haiyuan, smoothly appeared, the program showed the whole process of the members of the martial arts club celebrating at the food stall, making the audience feel that this group of young people was very down to earth. A new year, a new beginning. Their sweat and collisions during training were clearly outlined in the camera. Gradually, the camera moved to the front of the bus heading to the airport. The scene of Lu Qing and the others boarding the bus one by one was filmed. In the end, everything was fixed on the scene of the members of the martial arts club standing in a circle, holding hands and shouting in unison, "National competition." In the crisp sound, the background slowly blurred and a few big black words appeared. April 5th, National University Martial Arts Competition Final Circle. Phew. Yan Xiaoling exhaled and felt very satisfied. She planned to collect resources later and keep this program. Well, just like my Lu Qing, I am also a qualified squirrel fan. In the fan forum, "All the good names are eaten by dogs," was the first to appear and exclaimed, "Lu Qing is usually very humorous. Raise your hand. Does anyone feel that the interaction between Lin Kei and that reporter Xu is cute? No, I feel that Lin Kei is cute no matter who he interacts with." Shui Lan, whose signature was Forever 18, retorted. That makes sense. Also, I always feel that Lu Cheng and that sister Yen are having an affair. All the good names are eaten by dogs, had a keen eye. You didn't come to the forum during that time? Okamoto's fan sent an emoji of spreading hands and curling mouth. I'm a fan of Sister Yen. She's so pretty, so pretty. She's beautiful no matter what. Flying steed in the sky, a newcomer said infatuatedly. You guys only pay attention to whether the gossip is cute or not. Shouldn't the focus be on Lu Qing, Peng Liyun, Ren Li and Chaoyang and Zhen Huanxing who are about to fight punch to punch, blood to boil, and see who is the real heavenly son of the age? Fight punch to punch, blood to boil. Sorry, I'm thinking too much. I need to stop my nosebleed. Bull Demon King said in a fancy way. Little dragon, let me discuss seriously. No, let me wipe off my saliva first. The real Lu Qing and Lin Ke are so charming. Wonton Seller said. What realm do you think Peng Liyun and the rest are at now? Damn, little Wonton, you are actually discussing such a serious topic. Whether or not Peng Liyun will win this year's competition depends on whether he has reached the inhuman stage. The chances are 50-50. Ren Li is probably at the top of the 6th pin. Lu Qing always slaps me in the face so I don't dare to guess. But he's definitely at the top of the 6th pin. And Chaoyang and Zhen Huanxing are said to be at the 6th pin level. As for whether they are at the 6th pin level, it's hard to say. Sounds like our idol is very powerful. Brahmin covered her mouth and laughed. Wait, have you seen little Changya? No, Lingling is too short so she's covered. Nye Chi laughed. Due to the high popularity of the national competition, the traffic on Lu Cheng's fan forum had skyrocketed. Many new IDs had appeared. Some were criticizing while others were praising. While the fans were discussing the program, Lu Cheng and Yen Zhika also retracted their gazes from the computer screen. Reporter Shu is very nice. She didn't broadcast anything that shouldn't be broadcast. Yen Zhika said with bright eyes. Of course, I specifically went to ask her. Lu Cheng chuckled. He also asked Xu Rui to send him the clips of him and Ku so that they could be useful in the future. But for now he would not tell Ku this secret for the time being. You actually contacted reporter Xu in private? Yen Zhika turned her head and looked at him with shining eyes. This is not the main point. Lu Cheng blinked and said, just a phone call. Seeing his reaction, Yen Zhika burst into laughter. I was just scaring you. She rolled her eyes and said thoughtfully, I think you didn't just ask reporter Xu not to broadcast anything that shouldn't be broadcast. Humph, with your habit of collecting and keeping things, tell me, did you ask for those clips? Classmate, isn't it good to keep some surprises for yourself? Lu Cheng was speechless at first, but then he replied with amusement. Did Ku know him so well? Because I want to watch it now. Yen Zhika said with shining eyes. The two of them gathered together again and watched another version of the show. The reason why Songqing University Martial Arts Club arrived a few days earlier was to adapt to the dry weather and the large temperature difference between day and night in the capital, so as to avoid any fluctuations during the competition. After 2 days of adjustment at 7:40 p.m. on April 5, Group C of Shanbei University Martial Arts Club, the defending champion, opened the curtain of this year's martial arts competition. In the city stadium, among the cheers, Lu Qing saw that Peng Liyun was the last to fight. He easily defeated the exhausted leading general of Shanghai School and won the first round of the group competition. I still can't tell how good he is. Lu Qing looked at Yen Zhika and whispered to himself when the other match of Group C started. All the matches of the national competition were held at night, and a group competition would be held every day. In other words, each team would have a 4-day rest after one match. There were 2 days of adjustment before the quarterfinals, as well as before the semifinals and finals. Since the defending champion was the first to fight, the order of the group rotation was CDB. Therefore, Songqing University Martial Arts Club would challenge Hudong University Martial Arts Club in the second round on April 6. Lu Qing and the others dared not to be careless. Once they qualified, they would be the first and second team in the group. If they made any mistakes and were forced to fight against Shanbei or the capital in the quarterfinals, even if they could win, they would suffer great losses. They would not be able to face their opponents after that. Moreover, none of the teams that could make it to the national competition were easy to deal with. Especially Huahai and Chaoyang was definitely at professional 6th pin, and Piao Yuan was close to professional 7th pin. Besides, Huahai's foundation was much deeper than Lu Cheng's martial arts club. Chapter 367. The defending champion took down Xinghai without any bloodshed. Finished in 10 moves. Peng Liyun was just warming up. Shanbei and Peng Liyun? Is there any doubt about who will be the champion this year? The real gods favored one. On the night of the opening match, the martial arts section of the major portals and Weibo forums were already buzzing with all kinds of headlines. Lu Qing glanced at them and put down his phone. He closed his eyes and began to feel sleepy. Just then he heard a special reminder, and knew it was a new message from Yan Zhika. I was so busy saying goodnight that I forgot to talk about something serious. Yan Zhika sent a blushing emoji. Honey, come on. The corners of Lu Cheng's mouth curled up. He picked up his phone, pressed the button and said, "Honey, let's do it together." They didn't stick to each other anymore and went to sleep. Lu Qing got up on time at dawn and went to the nearby park to practice. He returned to the hotel at 8 o'clock sharp and enjoyed a nice breakfast with Yan Zhika. Then he followed the rest to the martial arts club for relaxation training. After lunch he slept and rested. Then he went to Yan Zhika's room to review the competition videos of the Hudong University Martial Arts Club in the past 6 months. At 5:20 they had a simple dinner. Then they boarded the bus with Lin Kei and others and arrived at the martial arts club in the capital before the peak of the traffic jam. When they were about to get off the bus, Lu Qing opened the app and posted on Weibo, "The first national competition is about to begin." After sending the message he didn't look at the reposts and comments. Instead he put his phone in his pocket and shouted to himself in his heart, "Victory!" There were 8 dressing rooms in the martial arts club in the capital, all of which were quite luxurious. There were benches, sofas, massage chairs and even a TV. It was not yet 6:30. Geezer sure signaled that they didn't need to be so nervous and just do what they were supposed to do. Lu Qing and Yan Zhika chatted until 7:30. When the first match of the night was about to begin, Lu Qing chose to close his eyes and rest. The match between Huahai and Mingdao could reveal a lot of things about them and help him understand his opponent better. However, there was no need to rush to watch it tonight. There were still 4 days to study it. Before the match against Hudong, it was a good habit to be focused, serious and not be distracted. Yan Zhika's period came on time last night. Although it didn't hurt much today and she could force herself to fight, her condition was still affected. She felt that she was not as good as Li Mao and the others. After rational consideration, she chose to give up and put the interests of the martial arts club first. "Yup, I'll be full of energy for the rest of the competition." She opened her eyes and clasped her white and slender fingers with Lu Cheng's. Images of the 3 leading members of the martial arts club of Hudong University appeared in her mind. Yu Ji, a senior student, was born with a unique body shape. He was the direct beneficiary of Peng Liyun and Ren Li's entry into the martial arts circle of the university. Originally he was thought to be limited by his talent and it would be difficult for him to reach the Big Dan level. However, after being beaten by Peng Liyun and Ren Li, he seemed to be strongly stimulated and opened up the conception and governing vessels. Finally, he took the crucial step and succeeded in force concentration after last year's national competition. As soon as he was promoted, he turned the burden of his talent into an advantage, directly reaching the standard of a top 8th pin. After that, he experienced a period of rapid improvement, taking another step forward. Now that 11 months had passed, his strength must be even more terrifying. The bookmakers gave out odds for this, believing that Yu Ji was very likely to have the combat strength of a strong 7th pin or even a top professional 7th pin. This was the reason why Hudong University could appear as the first place in the division, but it was not the reason why they were considered to be the best in the second category. The latter was because of the breakthrough of another player, Soul Voice Han Peipei. Han Peipei, a female junior, had the supernatural ability of sound wave, and could skillfully create ultrasonic and infrasound waves. When she was a professional 9th pin she was not very strong in this aspect. However, after nearly 2 years of suffering and training before this division competition, she took the first step to reach the Big Dan level. In the past few months, although her improvement was not as fast as Yu Ji's, her supernatural ability was even more terrifying. Her comprehensive combat strength was considered to be close to or even a professional 7th pin. The strength of the 2 leading members made the Hudong University Martial Arts Club ranked 7th in the championship odds list, behind Shanbei, Capital, Huahai, Guangnan, Songqing University and Mingdao. This was why Group D was called the Super Death Group. In such a group, even if they could fight their way out and enter the top 8, they would most likely be covered with cuts and bruises. The 3rd leading member of the Hudong University Martial Arts Club was Wu Yong, a sophomore at the top professional 9th pin. He was considered to have a great chance to enter the Dan stage. In addition, the substitutes of Hudong University were not bad either. There were 2 professional 9th pin fighters and 4 amateur 1st pin fighters. In another locker room, Yu Ji, who was as fat as a sumo wrestler, did not turn on the TV. Instead, he turned his head to listen to the sounds outside and laughed. The 3 brothers from Mingdao will definitely apply for a special competition system. Their competition will be faster than normal. It may be 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Soon it will be our turn. Speaking of this, Yu Ji looked at Han Peipei, who had dark eyelids and bright eyes. He then looked around at Wu Yong and the others. Gradually, his expression became solemn. Lu Qing is very strong, very strong. Lin Ke is not weaker than me and Peipei. We can't deny these 2 points and we can't pretend that we don't see them. Yes, Songqing University is indeed stronger than us. In this competition they are second only to Shanbei in capital, and together with Guangnan and Huahai, they are a strong team. But this doesn't mean that we will definitely lose. There is a gap between us, but it is not so big that we can't make up for it. Seeing that his teammates had become solemn, Yu Ji raised his slightly sharp voice and said, "And we have a big advantage. Our goal is only to enter the top 8. When we set out, I told everyone that our goal is to enter the top 8, but only the top 8. In other words, we don't care how we fight in the group stage. Even if we are seriously injured, lose our leading players and lose the top 8, we don't care. Songqing University is different. They want to enter the top 4. They want to fight for the championship. They need to preserve their strength as much as possible for the later knockouts. If they really want to go all out, they will most likely be afraid. Those who are barefoot are not afraid of those who are wearing shoes. This is our advantage." His words made Wu Yong and the others excited. They seemed to see the hope of overturning the popular team, the hope of defeating the strong with courage and perseverance. Yu Ji's chubby cheeks shook. He looked at Han Peipei and said, "Peipei, you will be the first to fight. No matter who you meet, use your supernatural ability to cause as much damage as possible to create opportunities for the rest of the team." Hudong University used to have a coach named Shin Jinfu, but he had a conflict with Yu Ji and couldn't control the troublemaker, so the university reluctantly fired him. Han Peipei was an introverted girl, so she didn't say much. Looking around, Yu Ji pointed at himself. "I will be the second to fight. I will fight with all my opponents at all costs. Wu Yong, you will be the last to fight. Don't worry about who you will meet. Anyway, do your best." After arranging the order of the fighters, he took a breath and said, "I didn't tell you how to defeat Lin Ke or Lu Cheng. I just want you guys to not think about what will happen. Instead, you should focus on what's in front of you and fight one match after another. You should give it your all." Wu Yong, Han Peipei, and the others nodded and said in unison, "Fight." In the locker room of Songqing University Martial Arts Club, Geezer Sure clapped his hands to break the silence and attract everyone's attention. "Well, girl Yin, you tell us the most likely order of Hudong University." He looked at Yen Zhika with a smile. The familiar rhythm and process made Li Mao and the others relax a lot. It seemed that this was not a national competition, but just an ordinary competition. Yen Zhika was used to it. She looked up and said, "Let me say something arrogant and conceited. If Hudong wants to beat us, it can only stand on the word, fight." Ah! Lu Qing and the others burst into laughter. The tension in the locker room eased a lot. Yen Zhika pursed her lips and said with a smile, "Since Hudong University wants to fight with all their strength, they will most likely send Han Peipei first. If they can defeat Lin Ke and injure Cheng, they will win. Yu Ji will fight in the middle. Wu Yong or other professional 9th pin fighters will finish them off. Let's not talk about anything else, but they will definitely show their aura." Geezer Sure nodded with satisfaction. "Then what should we do?" "Don't panic. Just do what you say." Yen Zhika smiled. "Anyway, we will follow your orders. Well, let's be cautious in the first match. Don't let any accidents affect our mood later." Geezer Sure coughed. "Yes, we should be cautious." Li Mao and Sun Jian agreed. This caution also includes the consideration of the follow-up. We can't hurt anyone in the first round. Otherwise it will be difficult for us to fight Mingdao and Huahai, right? Geezer Sure chuckled. Facing Han Peipei, who is the least likely to get hurt. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone's eyes turned to Lu Cheng. Even Lin Ke, who was full of fighting spirit, was persuaded to consider the next 2 matches. Lu Cheng felt everyone's gaze. He smiled and stepped forward. "Master, I want to fight first. Let me be the first shot of the martial arts club in the national competition." "Go ahead. If you lose, I will beat you with the sole of my shoe." Geezer sure laughed and turned to Lin Quebec. Lin K, you are the second player. Do you need my advice? No. Lin K answered in a low voice. Li Mao, you are the last one to finish them off. Don't be nervous. The first two guys are like wolves and tigers. You may not be able to fight, Geezer sure said with a smile. Li Mao's nervousness was completely gone. He smiled and said, I hope they will leave some leftovers for me. After months of hard practice, he had mastered meditation and the internal training method. He had reached the level of a real professional ninth pin. His confidence had increased a lot. As for the substitutes, they will be Kai Zongming, Sun Jian and Lin Hua as usual. Geezer sure waved his hand. After waiting for a while, news came from the outside. Hua Hai had paid the price of injuring the main force, Zhang Dongliang, and the substitute, Deng Yuntao, and narrowly broke the formation of the three He brothers of Mingdao. And He Erlong had shown the realm of Danqi in this match. The formation of the three-dan stage had been formed. Lu Qing and the others didn't care too much about it. Or rather, they didn't have the mood to think about it because it was their turn next. Outside the locker room, the lights were shining down. Lu Qing opened the door and stepped out first. There was a cacophony of cheers and boos everywhere. Chapter 368. At this time, there were many reposts and comments under Lu Cheng's Weibo post. Wonton Seller said, Do your best, pat shoulders. Brahmin 001 inch sent a cat head emoji. Snacks and screams are ready. Eternal Nightfall sent a heart emoji. Come on. Songqing University will win. You will win too. Lu Cheng's post didn't include anything else but the start of the national competition, so it didn't attract any haters. Of course, there were many sarcastic people everywhere. Don't let Peng Liyun win. Although I don't think you'll make it to the top 4, I still believe in you. Peng Liyun finished him in 10 moves yesterday and barely warmed up. What about you today? Don't get hurt. That'll give us an excuse. After browsing through the content on the screen returned to the studio. The host, Lu Chang, smiled and looked at the famous commentator Qin Sanxing. Sanxing, you didn't expect Lu Cheng to be the first one, did you? Well, I did. Qin Sanxing was a former mighty one of 6th pin. Because of his good looks, professional commentary and lazy personality, he didn't pursue martial arts too much. After becoming an internet streamer, he gradually faded out of professional competitions. It's the first time for Songqing University to participate in a national competition. It's normal for them to be scared. It's understandable for them to be cautious. What do you think will happen in the first round between Lu Cheng and Han Peipei? Lu Chang led the conversation. Qin Sanxing laughed and said, The result is obvious. If Lu Cheng can't even beat Han Peipei, he won't be qualified to be a candidate for the Heavenly Son of the Age. The focus of this round is how much Lu Cheng will consume and how much damage Han Peipei will cause him. That's right. Han Peipei's sound wave, supernatural ability is very troublesome. Even a 6th pin expert may not be able to escape unscathed. Sanxing, can you give us a brief analysis of the situation? Lu Chang threw out another topic. Qin Sanxing had already done his homework. He didn't even look at the notebook on the table and began to talk eloquently. The sonic wave supernatural ability has many uses. I will mainly introduce 3 aspects. First, it allows Han Peipei to detect her opponent through the reflection of the sound wave. This allows her to predict her opponent's movements, which is a level higher than absolute reaction. I will introduce it later. This is the core of her fighting style. Second, it creates ultrasonic waves. Everyone knows that ultrasonic waves can break stones, right? I'm not a scientist. Anyway, I'm just making an analogy. I don't know if it's right or not. Anyway, Han Peipei can use this to affect the subtle parts of the enemy's body, interfere with the force exertion, and interfere with the explosion of the Dan stage. The third is the main point. The main point. Han Peipei's infrasound is her most powerful killing weapon. Through resonance, it can cause dizziness, nausea, and even vibration of the 5 viscera and 6 bowels. If it's serious enough, it will cause internal injuries which may even be fatal. Moreover, it's very difficult for fighters below the inhuman level to effectively guard against it. If they devote a lot of energy and attention to controlling the vibration frequency of the organs, there will inevitably be irreparable flaws in their punches and kicks. Lu Chang added, Sanxing is right. Real martial arts are not like those in novels, where you can cultivate inner force and have genuine qi to protect your body and counteract sound waves. You can only resist or control it by force. So it's very difficult for Lu Qing not to be injured? He deliberately played dumb. Not really. The effect of the infrasound wave has to be sustained for a period of time before it takes effect. It probably depends on the energy. I have a set of data here. According to the data, after Han Peipei advanced to the Dan stage and obtained the professional 8th pin certificate, she only needs 5 seconds to make her opponent feel dizzy, nauseous, and other symptoms. As time goes by, the effect becomes more and more obvious. Qin Sanxing flipped through the notebook on the table, coughed twice and said, "The physical fitness of a professional 6th pin fighter is much stronger than that of a professional 8th pin fighter. Let's make a reasonable assumption. When facing Han Peipei, Lu Qing will be affected for about 20 seconds. After 1.5 minutes he will most likely have internal injuries. The longer the time goes by, the more serious the internal injuries will be. In other words, with the help of force concentration, Lu Qing has to finish the battle within 3 to 5 minutes. That's the only way to avoid internal injuries and prevent them from affecting the rest of the battle?" Lu Chang pretended to be enlightened. "No, 2 minutes. Qin Sanxing denied Lu Chang's assumption. What? Lu Chang was really confused this time. Qin Sanxing laughed again and said, "After 20 seconds Lu Qing will feel dizzy and nauseous. If this continues for a while, how bad will his condition be? Force concentration can relieve but not completely. If he can't finish Han Peipei in 2 minutes, he will fall into the opponent's rhythm and have to rely on force concentration to resist the influence. First of all, he will consume a lot of energy, and second of all, he will be injured if he makes a mistake." "That's right. But for a professional 6th pin fighter, 2 minutes should be enough to finish off Han Peipei, who is of professional 8th pin, right?" Although Lu Qing hadn't gotten the certificate and was only of professional 8th pin in name, Lu Chang still treated him as a professional 6th pin fighter without any doubt. What a joke. In December, Lu Qing's combat strength was slightly above that of a professional 6th pin fighter. Now that half a year had passed, with his speed of improvement, there was no problem for him to reach professional 6th pin. "That's not necessarily true," Qin Sanxing replied with a smile. "This involves Han Peipei's fighting style that I just mentioned. She mainly fights with long-range guerrilla warfare. She affects her opponent with ultrasonic waves and weakens him with infrasound waves. When it's about time, she moves closer to attack. But Lu Qing won't just watch her comfortably launch long-range attacks." Lu Chang expressed his doubts. Lu Qing, who is of professional 6th pin, is like a block of wood. After reaching the Dan stage, Han Peipei can create more than one kind of sound wave at a time. Under the condition that the total energy is the same, she can use infrasound waves to attack while probing. In other words, she can predict whether her opponent is going to use his Dan stage explosion or his supernatural ability to fight back. She can dodge in advance and is like a cunning rabbit that can't be caught. Since you can't catch it, you can't hit it even if you want to. All you can do is take it passively, Qin Sanxing explained. Well, this is really a bullying style. Before Lu Chang's voice died away, he heard the director's prompt. With a serious expression he said, "Okay, the conversation time is about to end. How will Lu Qing counter Han Peipei's terrifying fighting style that uses supernatural ability as the core? Let's wait and see." On the arena, the light was so bright that it was as bright as day. Lu Qing and Han Peipei came from both sides and climbed the stone steps almost at the same time to face their first match of this competition. Because Han Peipei was an introverted girl, the conversation time passed in silence. Lu Qing adjusted his body and mind and thought about his fighting style for the last time. In the seats of the Songqing University Martial Arts Club, Yanzhika unconsciously clenched her hands and looked at the arena with worry and nervousness. She didn't doubt that her boyfriend would win, but she was afraid that he would consume too much energy and suffer internal injuries. In the seats of Hudong University, Yuji was very happy. He thought this was the best way to fight. As long as Peipei could hurt Lu Qing, he could pick up a wallet. Lin Kei was about the same as him, so he might not lose if they fought again. At that time, it would depend on the performance of the third main force of both sides. The referee looked at the electronic clock, raised his right hand and took a step back. He said loudly, "Begin." The journey of the Songqing University Martial Arts Club in the national competition officially began. As soon as the referee finished speaking, Lu Qing suddenly formed a seal with his hands and visualized a sharp ancient character in his mind. 9 words formula, the army formula. From the very beginning he had been looking for a quick fight. At this moment Han Peipei suddenly wriggled her abdomen, opened her throat, and shouted a strange sound first. The sound seemed to be far away, but it was actually very close. It exploded beside Lu Cheng and created an opposite wave, which eliminated the army formula from his mouth. The 9 words formula had no effect before the secret was formed. As a powerful supernatural power user in sound waves, Han Peipei had repeatedly watched Lu Cheng's competition videos and confirmed that his army formula was a mental attack. After a long time of hard practice, she created her own method of sound wave cancellation. Based on her own characteristics, she opened her mouth at the right time to eliminate Lu Cheng's army formula. Seeing that the effect was perfect, she didn't have time to be happy. She stomped her feet and suddenly changed her direction. At this moment, Lu Cheng made the explosion of the dance stage. He stomped his feet and pounced on her with a cracking sound, like a roaring wind. However, this wind could only miss in the end. As soon as he landed on the ground, Lu Cheng retracted his qi and blood, then released it again and pounced on Han Peipei with the momentum of double explosion. Just like when he beat Lu Xuanjun, he had the upper hand in terms of both realm and physical strength. Han Peipei had already sensed it. She slid and dodged in time. Triple explosion, quadruple explosion. In the chase, Lu Cheng only managed to shorten the distance between him and Han Peipei. In the live broadcast room, Qin Sanxing looked at his watch and reminded the audience with a smile. It's been 10 seconds. Lu Cheng's expression didn't change. He changed his footwork and turned into a cold wind blowing from the north. He chased after Han Peipei quickly and nimbly, reducing the distance between them. Han Peipei wasn't nervous at all. She was very confident in her detection ability and dodging skills. When the distance between them was reduced to a certain extent, Lu Cheng suddenly raised his arms and made another hand seal while running. Again. Han Peipei was afraid that she would be slowed down by the mental attack. She didn't dare to be careless and made the first sound again. In the strange sound waves, Lu Cheng gathered strength in his 5 fingers. His hand seal suddenly changed and he uttered a different ancient sound than the army formula. Okay. Boom. He tore through the air and made a crisp sound. He jumped out with a whoosh and was in front of Han Peipei in an instant. He quickly swung his arms. Han Peipei's vision blurred. She had no time to dodge or create a loud sound to disturb his ears. She had to use force concentration and punch back fiercely. At this moment, Lu Cheng's fascia sprung and forcibly withdrew his arm. He stepped on the ground and swung his center of gravity, dodging Han Peipei's punch and dodging to the side. The 19th move of the ice sect, Cold Swallow. Bam. In his mind, he saw a frozen river and shaking thunder clouds. His right arm was like a cudgel and struck down. Simplified physical invulnerability, severe warning. Bam. Han Peipei barely managed to swing her fist and block the blow. Her whole body seemed to be frozen and temporarily lost the ability to think. White frost appeared on her body and she stood there in a daze. Lu Cheng shook his left arm and stopped at Han Peipei's neck. Lu Cheng wins the first round. The referee announced loudly. In the live broadcast room, Qin Sanxing blurted out, 14 seconds. Han Peipei lost in 14 seconds. Chapter 369. 14 seconds. The audience in front of the screen was startled by Qin Sanxing's exclamation. It took them a while to realize what had happened. They were all dumbfounded. In less than 2 minutes and 20 seconds, Lu Cheng had defeated Han Peipei before her infrasound took effect. Thanks to the host and commentator's explanation, they thought Han Peipei was tough to deal with. Phew. Yan Zhika relaxed her clenched fists and waved at the ring. Cheng had defeated Han Peipei unscathed. She didn't need to worry about anything else. Beside and behind her, Li Mao, Lin Hua, and the others all jumped up, relieved of their biggest worries. With a swoosh, Yu Ji suddenly stood up, his eyes fixed on the stage, the fat on his body shaking. Although he couldn't hear the commentator or watch, he could clearly feel how fast Han Peipei was defeated. Not only was Lu Cheng unscathed, but most of the symptoms such as dizziness and nausea hadn't appeared yet. How could he continue the fight? A real man in 14 seconds. In Lu Cheng's fan forum, Okamoto's fan was the first to react and posted. My Lu Cheng is so cool. That commentator uncle's mouth can fit a goose egg in it. Eternal Nightfall, sent a, I'm so proud of myself, emoji. Brahman proudly wriggled back and forth. My idol is really my idol. Including the conversation time, the whole battle process is not as long as the commentator uncle's analysis. One Punch Superman teacher Lu. Wonton Seller turned into a glutinous rice ball, and rolled around. She liked to control her expression. After the exclamation, Unparalleled Dragon King typed a lot of words and said with a funny emoji, "This kind of supernatural power fighter is really strong when he is strong. In theory and practice he has no problem challenging those of higher ranks. But as long as there is an accident that he can't deal with temporarily, he will be very vulnerable. Of course, this refers to the time when he challenges those of higher ranks." Yeah. Who would have thought that Lu Cheng had mastered one of the sounds of the Buddhist incantation of 9 words? And it's the kind that can increase his speed explosively. Han Peipei's accident is inevitable. Road to the arena sighed. Ever since he met this guy in Yanling, every time he watched his matches he would be shocked once or twice. Someone had traced the origin of the army formula and the forwarding formula and identified which 2 characters they were. He also associated them with the Taoist classic, Lin, Bing, Do, Zhi, all are arrayed to advance. Then, according to the naming format of the Daxing Temple's 6-syllable Sanskrit mantra, he named the secret art 9 syllables mantra. Kesu, didn't Lu Cheng reveal one of his trump cards? Wonton Seller asked with concern. Unparalleled Dragon King laughed. I think it's worth it. You have to end this as soon as possible to deal with Han Peipei. If you drag this on and get hurt by her, it won't just affect you in today's match. The healing of internal injuries was always slow. In the live broadcast room, Qin Sanxing closed his mouth to hide the gaffe on his face as he listened to the audience's exclamations and applause. Yuji doesn't look good. Lu Chang couldn't help but sigh when he saw Yuji walking up the stone steps like a heavy tank. Of course. If Han Peipei loses like this, Yuji will be in trouble. Qin Sanxing, who was experienced in all kinds of battles, adjusted his mood and became relaxed again. Lu Chang turned to look at his partner and asked in surprise, "Why is Yuji in trouble?" Yuji's talent is extraordinary. Not only does the fat on his body provide him with great strength that surpasses those of the same rank, it is also equivalent to a layer of armor formed by thwart kung fu. It is slippery and soft when hit, and it won't cause much damage. Qin Sanxing explained concisely. In gaming terms, Yuji has high attack, high defense but low agility. He's perfectly countered by a fighter like Lu Cheng. Lu Chang recalled and said, I remember that Yuji's moves were not slow. His fists and palms almost left after images. His moves are not slow but his movements are slow. Isn't he a live target for Lu Cheng? Qin Sanxing gave his conclusion first and then went on in detail. Yuji's current strength and explosive power of the Dan stage should be equivalent to a weak professional 6th pin fighter. A fighter of the same level would be defeated after 2 or 3 punches. However, as long as his vital parts aren't hit, he won't be seriously injured after a few explosions. As for minor injuries, with the recovery speed of his fat, he'll be alive and kicking again in 2 days. That is to say, when facing a strong opponent, he likes to use this kind of method where you hit me and I punch you back. He often puts his opponent in a difficult position and has a high chance of winning. But Lu Cheng is different. He has simplified physical invulnerability and supernatural abilities of ice and fire. How many hits can you take? How many times can he take? And in terms of speed and reaction, he's no match for Lu Cheng. If he's not a live target, then what is? Lu Chang gasped and said, based on what you said, Yuji can only wait for his death. If Lu Cheng had consumed a lot of energy when he was fighting Han Peipei, such as dizziness and nausea, or suffered from internal injuries, Yuji would have had a chance. But now, Qin Sanxing gave a classic answer. Simplified physical invulnerability is really deadly. Lu Chang couldn't help but sigh. Isn't that right? But simplified physical invulnerability isn't something that can be mastered easily. First, you have to have an inheritance. If you're not a strong person who founded a sect, you can't make something out of nothing. Second, you have to master meditation, which most professional 7th pin fighters don't have. Third, you have to have a corresponding supernatural ability or your physical fitness has reached professional 6th pin. Otherwise, the simplified physical invulnerability won't be very effective. Qin Sanxing took the time to explain to the audience. At this moment, Han Peipei, who had recovered, did a forced concentration to turn the coldness in her body into white gas and exhaled. She turned around and walked down with a depressed expression. Her footsteps were slightly unsteady. Thump, thump, thump. Yuji patted her shoulder and stepped into the arena, as if showing off his weight. On the way here he had thought it through. At this point the only thing left was to fight. He had to fight his way out of all the difficulties and dangers. He had to fight for a chance of survival from a hopeless situation. Thump. Yuji stood still. His fat jiggled, making him look smooth. The referee took a deep breath, raised his right hand and announced, "Begin." Lu Qing took half a step forward, hooked his left arm forward, shook his wrist, and shot out a ray of crystal white cold light that moved close to the ground. At the same time he swung his right arm and swung his wrist in the opposite direction, throwing a tyrannical red fireball over the enemy's head. Burning ice and fire. He was taking advantage of Yu Ji's movement speed. Yu Ji arched his back slightly and jumped forward, dodging the cold light and crashing into the fireball with the weight of Mount Tai. Boom. The fireball exploded and flames danced in the air. Yu Ji's clothes were torn and his fat jiggled. His body was only slightly blackened, but his defense was amazing. Bam. His feet landed on the ground, shaking the arena as if it had been hit by a huge rock. Lu Qing took advantage of this opportunity and slid to the front of him. His chi, blood, force and spirit contracted and then released. Bam. His right arm swelled as if he was holding a giant hammer, and swung it at Yu Ji's thick neck. Yu Ji didn't even look at him. His neck suddenly swelled and the fat on his body expanded. He stretched out his right arm and with his height and arm length, he slapped Lu Cheng's head at an extremely fast speed. "If you hit my neck, I might not be seriously injured. But if I hit your head, you won't be able to take it. And maybe I can hit you before you do. I don't care if you're a simplified physical invulnerability master. You'll lose anyway." Lu Qing didn't want to fight head-on. He released his force and leaned forward, dodging the slap. Then he moved to the side and did a force concentration. His left fist smashed out like a tsunami towards Yu Ji's waist. Yu Ji's fat jiggled and he suddenly kicked to the side. Attack for attack and injury for an injury. Lu Cheng's fascia sprung up, and he forced his left fist to Yu Ji's back. Yu Ji didn't mess up his footwork and turned his body in time. "Not bad," Lu Qing praised. He raised his left arm and crossed it in front of his chest. His right hand clenched into a fist, and under the stimulation of his chi and force, he punched at his opponent's dantian. Yu Ji used the same trick again. His arm stretched out like an ape, and his fat jiggled as he swung it at Lu Cheng's head. At this moment, Lu Qing suddenly retracted his chi and blood and did a force concentration. He stopped his right fist by force. This time he didn't use his dantian chi because of the balance between ice and fire. Instead, he quickly released his force concentration and calmed his force. His left arm suddenly swung out in front of his chest to counter Yu Ji's slap. At the same time, the river in his mind froze and the waves froze. Boom. Thunderclouds appeared, shaking the entire area. Bam. Lu Cheng's left arm hit Yu Ji's palm. In an instant, a layer of white frost appeared on the surface of Yu Ji's body, and the light in his eyes became sluggish. But his defense was indeed amazing. Under such circumstances he could still pull out his left leg slowly. Lu Qing took advantage of Yu Ji's sluggishness and slid to the side. Force concentration and forward punch. The punch hit Yu Ji's ribs. His fat jiggled, soft and slippery. Only then did he recover from the severe warning. He quickly retracted his chi and blood, force and cold wave. Lu Qing didn't stop after his successful move. He moved quickly and exploded one after another, not giving his opponent a chance to recover. Double explosion, triple explosion, quadruple explosion, quintuple explosion. Bam 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 bam. Lu Qing swung his arms and moved nimbly, hitting Yu Ji repeatedly. Yu Ji's fat jiggled and was about to explode. No matter how tough Yu Ji's body was, he couldn't withstand such an attack that could tear down a building. He was close to being seriously injured. Gritting his teeth, he suddenly jumped forward and pounced on Lu Qing. He wanted to use his advantage of his body to push Lu Qing to the ground and win in the midst of defeat. Whoosh! With a gust of wind, Yu Ji charged at Lu Qing like a mountain toppling a jade pillar. Lu Qing had watched many of Yu Ji's battle videos and was prepared for this. He suddenly flicked his fascia and used the north wind footwork to dodge the attack. Turning around, he used force concentration, and whipped his leg on Yu Ji's back. Bam! Yu Ji was sent flying and smashed into the ground. Stone chips flew everywhere and cracks spread. He lay there struggling for a while but couldn't stand up anymore. If it were anyone else they would have been beaten to a pulp. Of course the referee would have stopped them. The referee looked at Lu Qing and saw that he didn't want to attack again. He raised his right hand and announced the result. Round 2, Lu Qing wins. The audience was silent. Lu Chang and Qin Sanxing in the live broadcast room were also speechless. Too fast. Too brutal. They didn't know what to say. After a moment of silence, the audience became excited. Suddenly a shout came from the stands. 1 against 3. The shouts gradually merged into a torrent. 1 against 3. 1 against 3. 1 against 3. You're tuning in to the Han Lee's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.